Hello and welcome to the semifinal here in Salt Lake City for the third Boulder event of the season and our second weekend of the back-to-back events here in Salt Lake City. Megan, another beautiful day. The semifinal boulders look fantastic.
Yes, another beautiful day here, and after an exciting qualification round, we have some awesome, difficult technical coordination boulders out here for the men and women to get on in the semifinal.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. They like to mix it up between rounds, between weekends. So Jamie was saying this is an exact mirror of the qualifications last time. This weekend, the women got the more powerful qualifiers, and the men got the more slabby technical qualifiers. We have some highlights. Let's have a look back at what went down in the qualifiers yesterday. The men's qualifiers went down this morning here in Salt Lake City, the second weekend of our back-to-back climbing events. Almost all of the climbers are back this weekend with a few notable additions. Tomoa Narasaki is here after missing the first two World Cups of the season, looking after a knee injury. I caught up with him after his qualifying round.
First of all, my elbow wasn't comfortable to participate in the first World Cup. And further, for the next World Cup, I wanted to prepare for the combined, so I didn't join the first Salt Lake City.
How is your preparation going for the Olympics?
So far, so good. I'm doing good, I feel. I want to test it in Salt Lake City this time.
Interesting to hear about Tomoa's process in his preparation and build up to the Olympics. We will definitely see him tomorrow in the semifinals, along with 19 other of these elite men's climbers, separated out by fresh, brand new boulder problems here on the outdoor wall in Salt Lake City. After the men finished their qualification this morning, it was time for the women to take the stage. A couple of very notable additions to the women's field this weekend. Akio Noguchi coming in to compete in her 85th Boulder World Cup. And also the current world's best, Yanya Gonbret, is here. Stand out from last weekend, young Oriane from France finished her qualification round looking pretty good for the semifinal. We caught up with her to ask her a few questions.
It was hard, really hard. I mean, the first World Cup was much more like slabby things, slabby boulders, and so we could just like breathe on the boulders. And now it feels pretty hard to be back on the wall with such powerful boulders. So, well, it's quite tiring, but I'm really happy to be there again. Honestly, last World Cup in qualification I did 18, then I finished last, 6, and then I did 2, and I think I got quite lucky since the boulders were much more my style in finals. So I think I'm just gonna climb like I want to and like I can, and well, if there is all these areas here, fine, but if it's not here, then I had fun, and I'm really glad to be here.
A really good look at the qualification boulders from yesterday. We are here at the semi-final round in Salt Lake City. Pete Woods here with Megan Martin. We are just about ready to go. We are moments away. Let's have a quick look down at the start list for your 20 semi-finalists starting on the men's side. Some usual suspects in the mix, a couple of people who are getting their seasons ramped up. Sean McCall, good to see back in the semi. A couple of Americans are going to climb in a back-to-back. Sean Bailey, Zach, and Nathaniel Coleman. And then we get into the top half of the qualified climbers. You see Alex Magos, you see Mejdi, who was on the podium last weekend. Simon Lorenzi had a great comp last weekend. You get then Sota, Tamoa, and Kokoro Fuji to round out the powerhouse of the Japanese team.
Yeah, really great men's semifinal here to start. And then for the women, we have, again, some familiar names here. Petra Klingler hasn't been in a semifinal this season yet, so nice to see her in here. Another one of the Olympic qualified athletes. And remember, this list, they're coming out in how they placed reverse of yesterday. So 20th place comes out first place comes out last. And as you see, Janja Garnbret is here this weekend and had a fantastic qualification round, so she'll be coming out last in the semi as she is ranked first. Again, seeing Brooke Grabatu and Natalia Grossman in 2 weekends in a row in semifinal, and their teammate Kyra Kani made it in. And Fanny Gibert, another familiar face who usually is in the semis but has been out in Meiringen, so it's nice to see her 2 weekends in a row back in the semifinal here.
Back in the mix, and that name just looms at the top of the women's qualification semifinalists. Janja did not look like, as you would expect, missed a single beat in taking a little bit of time off and not climbing here last weekend. She looked every bit as strong as she always does. So the semifinal round is going to be a bit busy. As we start off, there'll be one climber coming out. We run men's and women's semifinals at the same time. So they both come out, climb on boulder number 1. They get 5 minutes to try the boulder on site. So they've never seen the boulder before. They walk out, they have 5 minutes to process it, look at it, work out the sequence, and then hopefully get to the top. After that, they get 5 minutes of rest. They go back behind the wall into isolation, and the next climbers come out. So at the beginning, we start off fairly slow, 1 at a time, 2 at a time. In the middle of the round, we're going to have 8 climbers on the wall. It's going to be a bit chaotic. We're going to stay with you the whole way through. We're going to bring you what we can see. We're obviously not going to show you everything, but we're going to bounce around and show you what is going on, what is interesting, who's topping boulders, who's making moves.
Exactly, and we're getting a quick look at some of the boulder problems right now. You're getting a nice look at women's number 1 on the right and men's number 1 on the left. And if you're noticing the pieces of tape, first, the orange pieces of tape, there's 4 of them. They need to start with all 4 points on, and whatever orientation is designated to each limb. So if there's 3 tapes on one hold, that means 3 points need to be on there, 1 point on a different hold. And then the next thing to look out for is the zone hold, because this is the first way you can score points on a boulder problem. And then at the very top, that is the top hold. That is what you want. You need 2 hands on there for control. And with the zone, you only need 1 hand. Doesn't need the 2, just the 1. So things to look out for. And then after that, it goes attempts to top, attempts to zone. That's the separation. But really the main thing to focus on are tops and zones.
Yeah, get to the top in the least number of tries. The concept is the same, every single time. Get to the top, and then what we end up with is the mix comes in, the way the boulders are set, and the way we get attempts pulled away from climbers, slips, falls, people who simply cannot complete the boulder. So you're going to see it all this morning. Our first 2 climbers are out. We have Francie Sterer from Austria, and we have Manuel Cornu from France, and they're going to get us kicked off today. A bit of an awkward start on the first women's boulder.
And you see Manu is quickly moving through this hand jam section of men's boulder number 1, and he's also now using his feet to jam into that crack, because that foothold he is on with his left foot is so slippery. It is a dual textured hold, and he is on the slippery side of it. Look at this mantle.
And he's mantling. I promise you this is not how this boulder was designed, but you will see the climbers, because they're working alone and they're working, seeing the boulder for the first time, they're going to go with what their instincts and what their gut tells them. And I tell you, the instincts of these climbers are usually spot on, sometimes a bit creative, and sometimes they will climb themselves into a corner, and you'll see them sort of stubbornly end up in something that they don't know is wrong, but makes the boulder much more difficult than it was intended.
And with the 5 minutes, they have a lot of time to kind of step back and decide, oh, should I try that method again or maybe do something else? Francie kind of looking a bit better here, trying to figure out how to just move that left foot up to kind of get into that shoulder move on that black hold that you now can't see in frame, but was in frame a second ago.
Yeah,
there's a black dual textured hold.
And you're pressing up on these red holds that you're looking at here. They're quite sloping, so they don't have any sharp edges on them. They scoop out. As you start to apply pressure, you're going to catch the friction right, you're going to be fine. If you don't catch the friction right, you're going to see those slips. And a good look at that, the texture on the shiny blue of that start hold. A good, a different beta here.
Different approach for sure. The thing about this one too is the idea, according to root setters, is to go kind of slower at the beginning and then get into a more dynamic movement afterwards. But I do think the way Francie's trying it could work. Obviously, the root setters have an intended sequence for things, but it doesn't mean you always have to do that. For example, right now Manu is actually not doing the hand jam. He's just kind of
pressing.
Yeah, pressing in between, kind of more of a lie back, and he's able to do it that way. Ooh, nice jam though with the foot now. That is definitely the intended beta, and as you see, it's making it a little easier to get through this section.
It's the most secure way to have your feet in play for this part of the boulder. And then we get into it. This is a really good opposition. The balance here is quite tricky, and this is what makes this move difficult, is this finding the opposition. Once you get it right.
If you take a look at his right foot, the way he's jamming there just gave him that ability to rock over to the other side and put him in a great position to finish this boulder. Now he's just going to have to get that knee bar, which it looked like he read, ooh, he's going to maybe try to do a different thing now, but he was trying to place the knee bar, which is the intended beta, to finish this boulder. Let's see if he can make it happen. Nicely done by Manu.
Well done, well read, well executed, and 3 tries, I believe.
He's going to be really happy with that, too. I mean, Manu is a competitor that has been on podiums many different times, but he kind of goes up and down in terms of the circuit. Like, he's been on podiums, but then sometimes he doesn't make a semi like last weekend, so he's excited to be out here and ready to be on fire coming out first. It's cool to see an athlete like that who has podium before come out first, because he knows if he climbs well, he can definitely get into that final.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a bit of look on the bottom of your screen here under the athlete's name. This is going to keep track of their attempts, their zones, and their tops along the boulder. See here on women's number 1, currently the bar is blank for Francie. She has not made the zone on this boulder, but if the block is half full, it means they've reached the zone on that boulder. If it's full to the top, it means they've topped that boulder. So that's a quick glance looking at where they are in the round, and each boulder that they come through that will update almost live. You see the attempts here are stacking up for Francie as she tries to get established on this second hold.
And right now for Francie, the way the attempts and zones are the same because she hasn't gotten any points yet, and so you might see later zones attempts being different than a top attempt, because sometimes people will get to the zone and then fall and then have a lesser attempt to the zone, but take more attempts to get to the top. Yeah, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
We'll help you out. We'll help you out when it comes out. It does get, when you start to layer in the attempts, it starts to get a little bit less obvious at a glance. There is an app. So if you go to your app store of choice and you get the World Cup scoring app, it's very, very good. It keeps track of attempt zones, and it will immediately re-rank the climbers after every completed boulder. So it's a good tool to have during semis because there is so much going on.
Exactly. So this is Mao Nakamura's first attempt on women's number 1, and she has also been in finals before. So when you are an athlete that has been in a final, you kind of know that you can do it. It's that confidence builder to get you through, and she's climbing this perfectly.
Very smoothly.
Like I was saying earlier, more of a slow start, and this is where she's going to get into a more dynamic movement as Alexei Rubtsov is quickly moving through. Men's number 1.
This is his first attempt. He's coming at this. He's elected not to turn the corner down low with the security of the feet in the jam, but when you're this strong, you can kind of do what you like.
That's a movement that if you're a little more confident in what you're doing, it could work, right? The minute you don't trust shoulder press or just even your feet placement, like that's when you'll find yourself in trouble. But he stayed calm, cool, and collected the whole way through.
Absolutely.
And nice quick top there for Alexi. Another very seasoned competitor and an Olympic qualified athlete. He's been on the circuit longer than most people.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on the circuit longer than some of these athletes were even eligible to compete, you know?
Yeah, I think he's more than 10 years, and he's had some good season. He was in the semi 5 times in 2019. So over that seasonal arc, climbers we're a bit different. You don't necessarily go, breakthrough and then everyone's great in the middle of their career. Climbers tend to be up and down a bit. You can have a good season, a bad, entire season. So
exactly.
Here we have Alexi, who had a fantastic year in 2019. Was 15th last weekend. Maybe a bit of a disappointing performance for him, but he came out all cylinders firing this morning.
Really nice movement here from Mao. She's just trusting her feet really well and then able to kind of slink her way into each position. And that's that coordination move where this boulder gets really exciting.
All of a sudden, it gets very exciting. And one of the things that route setters like to use in their tool bag is change of pace. So you have, and we'll talk about them as we go through. We have lots of time through semifinals. We're not going to try and tell you everything there is to know about semifinal climbing in the first 10 minutes. But one of the things that route setters like is that change of pace. So you start a boulder slowly and carefully. You need to move very precisely, and then you have to switch gears and make a powerful move that requires some coordination and some, a reserve of power. Or sometimes they reverse it, and it can be quite hard to calm yourself down, kind of get the shakes out of maybe a big dyno to be able to do a delicate finish. So this one, slow and steady, and we'll see what Mao can do here.
Back on the zone, see if she can get that coordination move. It's a pretty big jump. I almost think if she can, she'd be better off trying to go off of 2 feet just to get a little more height. Just taking a second to brush that hold really quick because it is, even though she's only the second competitor to get on this boulder, holds like that get pretty slippery, pretty flat and fast. So it's always smart to take a second to brush. Plus, brushing is a great way to make yourself rest. Take another second to look at the boulder, make sure you didn't miss anything.
Exactly.
You never know.
Yeah, the forsts have a sit down and have a look. 1 minute to go. You must complete the boulder inside of that 1 minute mark. So if you have both hands on the finish hold at 1 minute, you're fine. And that's what we're looking for here from Mao.
And that zone hold she's on is really just there to balance her. It's not, she can't really grab anything on it. It's another dual textured hold. So this red shiny part is slippery, and then there's a textured part, but the textured part is so small that it's honestly just to balance and then get your feet up and set up for the jump. So there's not much she can really hold on to there. She just really needs to be super powerful. I tried to make it a little quicker that time, or maybe was falling.
Maybe rushing,
she might have been
maybe
falling a little bit.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of leg spring going to be required to stick that. As you say, that zone hold is not going to give you a lot of start movement from that zone hold. You're going to have to use it, but mostly that's going to be a springy hop.
Definitely a really good effort there from Mao. And I'm also interested to see if the method that Francie was using earlier on women's number 1 actually could work, that dynamic movement. And Francie is now brushing women's number 2 that has a very dynamic movement from the start. It's a really cool jump toe catch move that I am so excited to see these women try.
To see, yes.
And Manu as well, the first move for boulder number 2 for the men, Manu Cornu on the right, a second ago on our screen, is going to start to jump to a dyno right out of the start of the boulder. And right now on men's number 1 on the left, Maximilian Milne, and on the right, Hannah Moyle.
Maximilian, who is young, right? One of the younger
yes,
athletes.
He's 20 years old.
I say young because, and really now it's young overall, but in getting in semifinals and finals in World Cups now, the average age is going down and down and down. So 20 is not abnormally young to be in a semifinal by any means, but at one of the younger competitors from Scotland. A good youth career, so he's familiar with competing, but your first Open World Cup is a big deal.
Yeah,
so.
He was here last weekend in Salt Lake, but he did not make the semi. He placed 42nd actually, so he's already improving his, career within a week.
Yep, just like that.
That's the idea. That's what we want to do, right?
Constant progression. You see Francie here.
Ooh.
You're going to get a good look as we go through this morning, all the ways to approach that kind of coordination move, and then here as well from Manu. How late do you bring the toe up? How early do you bring the toe up? All of that, you're going to see lots of variations.
And any kind of coordination move is something that the more you do it, the more you learn it. So if you can get it to click within the 5 minutes, that learned movement can go well for you. But if it takes a little longer for you to learn it, it can be really difficult in 5 minutes or in 4 minutes for finals.
Maximilian here again. Just you're going to see slight variations all over. He had his feet in the jam to get across that slabby white volume. Now his
a nice drop knee there with his right foot.
Just looking at it.
But really good jamming here with the feet to kind of get over. He needs to just, what we saw Manu earlier, do cross through, and it really makes it easy for you to kind of just lean over. If he puts his right foot into it, might be helpful. But he looks like that left one was jammed so nicely.
He didn't need it.
Yeah. It depends on how it feels. Like, you'll feel it. If it feels good, you know you can just kind of change your direction of your body.
Yeah,
and like kind of use it as a lever, right?
Yeah, there's that moment where you go from feeling uncomfortable to feeling immediately secure. A great top there from Maximilian.
Very nice top. Nicely read, too. That knee bar is a very good thing to be able to read immediately. You don't want to spend too much time standing up at the top, unsure what to do with your feet.
Fidgeting around, trying to decide what to do exactly.
Especially on those holds. I mean, right now we have a nice breeze, but if it gets hotter in a bit, those holds will start to feel nasty.
Yeah, things could get difficult. Lots of brushing. Second boulders are proving to be a bit shut down here for Manu and Francie.
They're definitely probably the most difficult in the round. They're very powerful, very coordination intensive, and that is the better beta what Manu was trying. I honestly think the way he was trying it with the toe hook could work, but it might be hard to get out of. Ooh, Francie so close. She had the height that time. Her toe was just a little, or her foot was a little too low, but she had the height with her upper body. If she could just bring that foot up at the same time, she should be stick it.
You saw the smile. Sometimes you see the climbers, the smile tells you that they know how close they are. That looks good from Manu there. A little bit higher, a little bit more weight on that foot.
And the foot there is a little foot on the volume that he can throw to. It's kind of hard to see on our screen. We have a little bit of a glare, but it is a small foot, and I believe it was a dual textured foot as well. But he can also just kind of press on the volume perhaps as well. Oh, she almost
stuck it
just
without
held the swing anyway.
I feel like that's the kind of move that you're tempted to hold the swing. You might try and attempt. Oh, and Hannah gets up with not a lot of time to go.
Ooh, very close though to catching that scoop hold. Ugh.
She gave herself the "what were you doing earlier?"
Yeah.
Super important zone. Oh my goodness, Manu.
Running through, getting that zone, trying to get the top. It's going to run out of time, but just figured it out a little too late. That's what we were talking about, just those learned movements. If you can just learn them a little quicker, then maybe some of the other competitors, that'll be the difference between a top and not even getting a zone. I mean, he, being such a seasoned competitor, able to move confidently through that boulder once he stuck the jump, he knew he needed to just go, and not every climber will react that way, but his reaction time is so quick that he was like, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get the zone. I'm going for the top. And such a passionate competitor too. Like, to watch him, you always can tell that he is putting it all out there every time.
Absolutely, and those zones will become important. Don't discount the lack of tops. So last weekend we had finalists going through with one top through their semifinals. So every point that you can get is worth it, and sprinting to zones is something you will absolutely see, and they can be a difference maker, and that's why they're part of the competition, is to say you might not have got a top, however, you got your way through to a zone. Look at Sean, the good look at how slippery his feet skating around, trying to get through that match, and Alexi is going to take a swing at boulder number 2.
Setting a toe hook to start, and I think this could work. Now, getting out of the toe hook is what might be difficult. And something that route setters most definitely thought about and tested. And it's kind of one of those things where they're like, okay, so if someone does it this way, it's still hard enough. So we're okay with them doing it that way because either way, it's going to be a hard move, right?
Big top on your left here from Sean McCall. This is his first attempt. He read that well.
Very well.
I hope he's got his, he usually cuts his hair before big events, and he's cut himself a mohawk, it looks like, this morning.
Not comfortable in the knee bar,
No,
though. He
it's
was
not
starting
at all.
to place it for like half a second, and then he quickly decided not to do that, but I'm not sure. Ooh, nice opposition with that right foot, though. If it's going to work in this orientation, having that right foot for the opposition could make it work, but
that
he should
hold's not
really
good
go
enough
for
to
the knee bar.
use. Yeah, and he's going to go.
Well, it looks like his...
I mean, he's a shoulder
there we
climber.
go. He got it. Oh.
Oh my goodness, this makes me, my hands are sweating.
It looks. He's having trouble. I wonder if he can stack. If he could stack his legs to make it a little. Yeah, here he's gonna try maybe.
He's just trying to find the geometry. So make the climbers we saw do this. Look, they just fit a little bit differently. You know, sometimes short bones and long legs. These things all matter. So Sean is going to try and go non-conventional, but just believe in a little bit of finger strength.
He's
and a lot of
literally
hip flexibility. He's got his nails in it.
Yeah, he's trying to crimp the outside of the jib, and that's going to be a close call. I don't know. I will have to wait to see what the judges decide.
And they
Well,
gave
looks
him a
like
top.
they're giving it to him.
I wouldn't be surprised to see an appeal pop up from this.
Agreed.
Great, and now we have Oriana getting right up in this final move.
Nicely through that little heel hook section.
Bear hugging.
And a quick top for Oriane Berton.
Took a few swings to get to the zone, but once she got up there, no mistakes topping that boulder. Oriane, if you were watching last weekend, had a wonderful performance for her second silver medal of the season. And here he's a really good look at Sean, just trying to find any means necessary. Oh man, that's
It's very hard to tell since that was a slow-mo video. But again, the judges gave it to him, and we'll see what happens
See
later
what
if
happens.
any other coaches appeal. As Alexi is trying to get into that zone, he needs to be in a different orientation on that black hold in order to be able to get high enough into the zone.
And we've just heard from the chief that there is an appeal against that top. So we'll. The process is there is an appeal. They go and look at the video, so the chief will look at it, and then they will decide. And if they decide to give him the top, everybody stays where they are. If they decide that the appeal is upheld, Sean gets to come back out, and he gets the remainder of the time left that he had to climb in order to repeat the boulder. So he will lose the attempt that it took to get to what we thought maybe was a top, but if they deem it not to be, it counts as one attempt. You see Alexi here moving a little better, just forcing his way up into that compression.
And
There
then-
is a hold under there.
And this move is pretty cool. You have to kind of press up in with your right hand into this volume, which is a little uncomfortable. Once you're in the position, it's not so bad, but trusting to get into that press, just like Alexei is,
A little uncomfortable.
very
A
uncomfortable.
lot uncomfortable.
Kind of like your hand right into your face. But really nice climbing from Alexei. That last move is not easy. It's not, that boulder specifically is not over until it's over. It's very awkward to get into the top hold, so.
It's important to remember that powerful doesn't always mean that you're jumping between boulders. You can be powerful in holding a body position required to do a move, and that was a great example of it. And you'll see it come up a few times for sure.
Nice look at Yoshiyuki Ogata from Japan, getting ready to get on men's number 1. Taking a second to look it over. He touched the start holds for a second, which is allowed. You can touch them as long as you don't leave the ground. Taking some seconds to brush. And we just missed a top from Manu Cornu. Very quick. I really like this men's number 3 boulder, mainly because it's very straightforward, just pure power, not even a lot of moves.
No, you just got to be able to crimp, and you got to be able to bend a little bit, and you got to be able to have some shoulder power.
Yep.
Sounds like every boulder, really.
In some
In
form, right?
Maximilian here, just working out, as you were saying earlier, learned movements are part of that clock management. So you have 5 minutes to see the move, figure it out in your mind, and then learn how to execute the subtleties of it. So it will take some climbers a few attempts, and then it looks like all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, and that's that movement just coming into line and getting everything right in the way they're going. Sometimes you get it right, absolute first swing. So Yoshiyuki here on his first attempt, moving cautiously. Feet up high here where that's what you really want.
He found it. He found the jam. He's like, oh, this is
Wait
so
a minute,
much
this is easier.
Quickly into the knee bar. Read that from the start.
It is. From this angle, it's not as easy to tell, but it is a little bit insecure.
It is a little insecure, exactly, and you have to find the exact position to then feel comfortable enough to move into that top hold. And again, like Sean McCall did earlier, Yoshiyuki's looking a little uncomfortable with the knee bar and finding that balance point in order to rock over into that finish hold.
Because the left foot it's vertical, it's a little bit slippery, so you have to trust an awful lot of pressure. As soon as you put your knee and foot in between, you are running the risk of that violent expulsion, and it's something that's in your mind. And he's looking like he's trying to get an elbow to maybe get an opposition.
Anything to get over a little more.
Anything to get the opposition
and
here.
The other thing, too, is when you're at this part of the boulder where you're touching the top hold, that you don't want to rush it. You want to find that right body position. You know it's specific, and he's almost in it, and he's going to do it. Nicely done by Yoshiyuki. And the trick is the foot needs to go lower. Sean and Yoshiyuki both had their feet a little too high at first, and it feels like the right position, but it's not. Just a little,
right.
And that's subtle movements. Climbing is all about subtle movements and kind of having to sink into positions. Ooh, the dynamic method from Vita Lucan. See if she can make the jump here. A little bit out on her hips, and you may be able to hear the crowd screaming because we just had a top by Maximilian. We hopefully will have a replay of that, but the crowd was going wild as he topped men's number 2 as Franzi Sterher gets stood up on women's number 1, a really cool mantle, and then this cool jump where you have to hold the barn door swing. And both of those volumes she's standing on are pretty slippery. She also, there was like a teensy bit of a crack in the wall that she was kind of using, which she's allowed to do.
Yep.
And it kind of just held her balance a bit better. And you'll see a lot of the seasoned competitors like pay attention to the walls. Another quick look at Maximilian's top, first top of men's number 2.
And that's 2 in a row for him.
It's in a great position.
That's how you want to start your round. And we just heard Sean McCall will need to redo his boulder. He has 2 minutes and 20 seconds in which to do it. So he'll come back out. They'll reinsert him in the rotation, which will just bump the next competitor out 1 spot. They're used to this kind of thing.
So what's really interesting about what Franzi is doing right now, too, is though that crack that she's grabbing is holding her in, I think it's setting her up poorly to jump across because now she's holding something, when in reality she really needs to throw her foot to the volume, but she's almost not being dynamic enough, and it's making it hard for her to hop on over to the other volume that she needs to land on with her foot.
To make that move. So a little bit of disappointment from Vita there.
Very close.
Very close, but
just not high enough.
Quite getting stuck in that perfect position to jump high enough to get on top of that.
And she doesn't know that a lot of the women have struggled with that boulder as well. So in her mind, she's probably freaking out a little bit more, but it's been a difficult boulder for the women.
It has been. Now Kylie Cullen out, the first of the U.S. climbers. We'll hear the crowd pick up a little bit, I think, as soon as she sticks anything here.
And Kylie is one of the younger athletes in this competition, only 16 years old. This is her this is her 3rd World Cup that she's ever competed in. She did Meiringen the first weekend of Salt Lake and now the second weekend of Salt Lake. So as Oriane Berton has stuck that toe catch.
And then sort of followed by another dynamic movement where you need to swing those feet over. Anytime you're trying to hold dynamic movement on bad holds, it doesn't matter which direction you're going, it's going to be hard to make sure you keep that tension. So Kylie here looked like she was electing to try and match before going to that next to last hold. We'll see if she sticks with that strategy.
It looked like she was trying to find a position and then just kind of bobbled off, so she'll probably get back up there. Nice look at the beginning of men's number 3, Alexi, nicely into the jump in this mantle here. And stand up into a Gaston, so much shoulder power, and like half of a single leg squat even, you know, it's like a powerful stand up. Really, I love the movement on this boulder.
I do as well.
It's like one of my favorites.
Anytime you have to get your foot and your hands at the same height and generate momentum, your butt's sticking way out, it's really tough to control, and you end up generating a lot of momentum.
Mao Nakamura having a really good attempt at that jump, and kind of like what I was talking about earlier, she didn't grab that crack in the wall, and it kind of puts her in a better position to be committed to hopping over to the hold.
Probably back to a good look at. She's barely using the zone, and it's still a slippery hold.
Very close.
One hand, but not quite enough height, I think.
But now she knows the feeling, so she should be able to get a little higher on her next attempt and make it happen.
Oriane here, taking a really good look at this coordination move. You see her starting that toe move in the movement up. She's already winding up that left foot to get the toe catch. And Mao here with the hop over.
Just a little shallow, grabbing that hand hold.
Quick look at the stats so far. So that's after 2 boulders for some of the climbers and 1 for others. So take this with a grain of salt. We have lots of climbers to come, but as we get deeper in the round, you'll see these names shift. So you see at the top here, Oriane with 2 zones to her credit so far. And right behind Mao Nakamura with 1 zone and then on boulder number 3. So the gray, if it's solid gray, they did not get a zone, and then the open. We get Sean now. He's given his 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So he's got to repeat what he did. Sean's gonna really focus here. It is a slow climbing boulder given how long he spent at the top last time. So it can be a bit of a shake to have to come back. If you think you topped a boulder, you got to come out, you lose the appeal, you have to shake that off. Whether you agree or not, you need to come out and execute. And 2 minutes and 20 seconds is about half of the clock, so he's only going to get 1 more try at this boulder.
Mao Nakamura stepping back up onto women's number 1. This really nice mantle that the women have to start with as they uneasily have to walk their feet across and set up for this cool jump. Almost had it. Looked like she there's 2 screw-ons on the right side of the volume where she's throwing her foot to, and it almost looked like she kind of landed on one of them, which would make it harder for her to stand.
Yeah, they're there to protect the corner of that volume. Oriane making the stick again. As we see Sean on the right side moving back through this open press. 30 seconds. This is in that horrible area where he's going to have to hustle on a move that he was very uncomfortable with the first time. So he's going to have to make a decision, get it right.
See if he moves his foot lower.
Yeah, he's going to go right to it.
A little high again, but looks like he's going to go for it anyway. And that is definitely a top for Sean McCall.
No mistakes.
Nice to see him be able to make that happen, because in reality, I think he honestly forgot how he did the beginning of the boulder, so he had to put 2 attempts into it because he went through it easily the first try, and to have to sit behind the wall and then come back out, it just didn't click right away. So it's great to see him be able to make that happen.
But a seasoned competitor,
Sean
McCall,
seasoned. And an Olympic qualified athlete.
Olympic qualified athlete. He's one of the elder statesmen at 33 years old, which sounds crazy, but in World Cup climbing, as you approach 30 and over, that's becoming long in the tooth for bouldering.
Long in the tooth. Nice phrase.
I won't give away my age, but I have definitely passed that point several years ago. It's great to see a mixture. It's great to see that some of the, it's funny to say older, but some of the older competitors still in the mix here on World Cup stages.
Petra Klingler on the right from Switzerland, getting on women's number 1. Looks like going with that dynamic movement. I really like that the very first part of this boulder, you can do it either in a dynamic way or a static way, and seems like the same level. So it's whatever you're more comfortable with. That doesn't always happen, so it's cool to see that it's working both ways.
You've got both options in there, yeah. And you see Yannick Flohe just uncomfortable with the feet and making the decision to walk across the white surface of that long rectangle volume is very slippery. It's not the most shiny of the dual textured holes, but it does not have any friction on it at all. So you have to be okay with uncomfortable feet, and you'll see them skating. By the time we get through this round, that boulder's going to be covered in streaks of boot rubber. As Petra just took quite a while to try and solve the body position, to lean over into that zone hold.
Again, I think it depends on how comfortable you are on your feet, and sometimes you might just be off a little bit in body position, so you might feel like it's riskier than it actually is. Yannick really figuring out men's number 1 now after just quickly messing up the bottom. Looks nice and flowy at this point. Just needs to really trust that foot. He's not even fully into a jam. He's more standing on the right side, which is far more risky. The jam will really suck you in there. But again, this is a style that isn't necessarily one you see in competitions all the time. Obviously, in recent years, a bit more because the root setters are getting very creative with testing the athletes with cracks. But that's more of a traditional climbing skill than a comp climbing skill.
We got to look at, we'll come back, obviously, of lots of time. Women's number 4 is a really, really cool looking boulder, as we see Yoshiyuki with a quick top on his second boulder of the day. I would have said to you that was in his style. For sure.
So powerful, Yoshiyuki. It always amazes me. I know he's so powerful, but then each time you see him, he does something that's even more powerful than the last time you saw him.
Exactly.
And Hana Moyle trying to get into this kind of it's a sort of stemmy kind of thing.
It's almost like a chimney kind of move.
But not exactly. So when you look at it, you think, oh, I'm going to put both my feet in there and inch my way up. But in reality, you just want one foot. And you really want to turn down your left hand where she is so she can wedge her hip in there to then get high enough. She's almost finding it. She's really close.
She's close.
She just needs to
You're committing, right? She needs to commit to leave the foot that's behind on this.
And she thinks she needs to stem, but in reality, it is closer than it should be, right, for a stem. So that should tell you that maybe I just want to use my hip to sit in it.
And it's such a weird competition move that you really have to talk yourself into doing something like that. Yannick Flohe back up and a little bit farther down in the jam than the first time. With
definitely
both feet.
Better settled in the jam. Maximilian really trying to put on a show here, and he is with 3 tops so far.
3 tops.
And this is his first semifinal. He is absolutely crushing.
Absolutely correct.
Currently in the lead.
Yannick Flohe getting up into the decision point here of this boulder. And as a slightly taller climber, I find this knee bar will fit just a little bit easier than.
But what's funny about knee bars too is it doesn't necessarily matter how tall. It's really the shindex, which is a funny thing, right? But between your knee and your foot, what that length is can make a knee bar fit better for some people than for others. Nice top by Manu.
It's a great start from him as well.
Very exciting to see him psyched and passionate as always. Topping boulders. Yannick finding that knee bar, settling into the knee bar there.
And it's close to the end of he pulled that one down to anything under 10 seconds. Your heart rate starts to go up. So that's a great send. Great send at the buzzer. Now we're in the thick of it. So climbers on every boulder. And it's going to be like this for a while through the middle of the field. It's going to get exciting. We're going to see lots of action as we come through. We are in the semi-final round in Salt Lake City. Beautiful Sunday morning.
Beautiful Sunday morning. And, we're seeing lots of tops so far for the men, but not as many for the women. We only have 1 top with Oriane Berton on women's number 1 so far. So, it'll be interesting to see if it changes at all.
It's important to remember that we do go from the 20th qualifier to the first, but the second caveat is that a lot of climbers slip once in qualification and end up near the bottom of the field when normally they would be in the top. So you see climbers go from the bottom half of qualifiers into finals with some regularity. It doesn't fall Look at this, is really great work here.
Mao
on Mao.
Nakamura perfectly reading this. Oh, so nicely into that finish hold. Now she just needs to figure out how to match. She has a couple of options. A foot match with her feet there could put her in a good position. It's just kind of difficult. There's not a lot of room. And then she could also try to inside flag, which is my favorite
It's
thing
your
to see.
favorite
I
thing.
love to see boulders inside flag. It's more of a lead climber movement. So when they put it in boulders, I get excited.
Alexi staring down the last move. Love to get the top here on the fourth boulder. Just a bit short on that.
His hips came out a little too soon, didn't give him enough height to get to that top hold as Rei Sugimoto quickly moves into the top of men's number 1. And it is funny, a lot of the men
3 in a row that try to put the hip in.
Yep, they stand up and try to put their...
Which is what the women need to do on boulder number 3.
They just need to switch
They need
boulders.
to switch boulders.
But looks like he's finding that knee bar here, but just needs to find the right position. He's a little too low here.
Oh my goodness, this is, as a competitor, this is a stressful moment when you think you've got the knee bar and then you reach and realize that you can't quite get there. That's a big smile. Every boulder topped in the semifinal round is a good feeling.
Yes, the semifinal round notoriously being the hardest bouldering round, most difficult boulders. Quite the drop knee from Orion. I wish she knew that she didn't need to do that. It's funny because just seeing 2 holds apart like that, everyone thinks, oh, I need to get inside fully with my legs and my hands, but they just need 1 leg and 1 hip.
And 1 hip.
And it's way easier.
Yep, and you do see climbers get
tunnel vision?
Tunnel vision based on things they think they're particularly good at. So climbers who are very mobile or very flexible will do flexible things unnecessarily.
Exactly.
And climbers who are really strong will do strong things unnecessarily. So that's one of those moments when one's like, oh, I can turn my knee inside out.
So I'm going to do it. Afro punting, absolutely crushing women's number 1 right now, reading it perfectly.
That's as good as we've seen it done.
Wow. I really loved how she started too with her stand-up kind of coordination move. It was so smooth.
Just missing the top again. He's got time. A minute 30 is enough. It's not a super slow climbing boulder, and Mao Nakamura getting it right this time. Very excited to get that top on the last boulder.
Kylie getting close to that toe catch. Just again, we're seeing the women get high enough with their upper body to the zone, but their leg is just not in the right spot to create that opposition with the toe hook, so they really need to swing it. It's a lot to ask. It's a very, very difficult coordination move. If it was a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give that an 8. Nice stick.
Good stick from Sean. You feel that once you're here, it's about being careful, but we have seen climbers slip getting into that position you need to be in to make the move to the last hold.
Yeah, the move to the last hold is really strange. Just undershot that jib. A lot closer there from Kylie. Only 30 seconds left. Orion is going to be racing her way through women's number 3 because she's been at the top of this multiple times. Ooh, just a little too aggressive.
Yep.
And that's the thing with a boulder like this. There's a very middle ground of how aggressive and how cautious you need to be on a move like that.
Alexei Rubtsov here with under 10 seconds to go to get a top. Gotta move quick, Alex.
Oh,
as you wind up for the rush, the right foot gave up on him.
Good fight though from Alexei.
Good fight for sure. And tops is going to be.
It's going to be.
At the moment, it's okay.
It's hard to tell this early on. But after qualification, you never. Because like you said earlier, slip-ups can happen during qualification, put you in a lower position to start going into the semifinal. So you never know with this round as to what can happen, whether you qualify in 20th or qualify in first. Doesn't really matter.
That's why
you
they make them show up and do the boulders. Exactly. Sean Bailey here on the left. A rumor from the crowd. The first of the Americans on the men's side.
Really comfortable in that jam, and then it actually slipped out. He was so comfy for a second. Yoshiyuki.
No surprise to see a flash from Yoshiyuki.
Another
here.
boulder that's perfect for his style. as Vita Lukin is taking a second to brush women's number 1. Definitely want to get the boot rubber off that start
Yeah.
hole.
And yet, one of the things to remember is that when you're climbing 4 boulders with only 5 minutes rest in between, the cumulative effect of the effort you've put in starts to take its toll. So sending boulders first try, it's excellent for the scoreboard, and it's good for your mental game, and it's also good to keep you fresh and not have to put in 3 or 4 or 5 tries on each boulder. So this is a really interesting, I mean, she held that for longer than maybe she should have.
A very interesting approach from Hannah Moyle. I wouldn't have thought to do that. And it looks like if she went slow enough, she could possibly hold that barn door. That think of a door actually just swinging open, and that's what we saw with her leg pulling her off the wall. But if she goes slow enough,
just trying to hold it. If you press
might work. Now, I do think the other way would be easier, the intended beta. Vita Lukin trying to figure out how to get on top of this volume to start.
Sort of trying to wind, you started to sort of wind up the mantle. The foot is quite low to generate that power, where if you could hop into a mantle move where you need to push down with both hands, it's easier if you have some generation from your legs first, and when the feet are insecure like they are on that one, it's going to be harder. A good look here at the angles that Sean is dealing with as he...
Now nicely into those toe jams. A nice place and twist. If you take a quick look at that, he twists into it to make it in that lock position.
Clean through the transition.
Just needs to be in the right body position for this knee bar. If he looks like he sees it. A little high, but we've seen it done. Oh, good. Did you see how he sank into it with his right hip? Made it super comfortable. Nice climbing there. Vita trying to figure out how to get that left foot up. Like you were saying, the motion is nice if you can actually generate off that bottom foot, but otherwise you're going to have to rely on your flexibility to just kind of get that foot up and then start to rock on top. Now, Mao Nakamura actually did kind of a mix of the two.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody's going to have a surprise every now and then. They're going to come out and do something maybe a bit unexpected or maybe unique from the rest of the field. Maximilian hunting his 4th top, which would be a wonderful semifinal.
An amazing semifinalist round. It would be difficult to stick that with his right hand, but
yeah, that looked like he climbed his way into a situation he thought the only way out was a bit of a desperate effort. He couldn't reverse it, so maybe he'll change that up this time. Petra has been here once already on this boulder.
Ooh, nice way to hold that swing. You saw she kind of kicks the foot back quickly. That's a difficult body position to hold. Now,
transition here.
A boulder that I would think that Petra would do well on. She does have so much power.
It's about this transition here is a little bit tricky, but that's really, really clean climbing from Petra.
It was really smart of her too to use her momentum to swing her foot up, because that's a really difficult move to just flexibly move your leg up. So with that little bit of momentum, it made it easier for her to get into that foot position. And
really
she's going to get an awesome top there from Petra. That's going to be important.
That is important. That's really, really composed climbing from Petra Klingler. And you saw there a good look at the angle. That wall is one of the steeper on this World Cup wall. One of the steeper angles. And that's to hold that compression in that position is very, very strong.
Let's see if Hannah does a different approach here, if she tries to go more dynamically and catch that other one. Oh, so close.
Almost hung on. 10 seconds is not going to be enough for another try from Hannah. It's hard to touch the last hold and not be able to
It's devastating. It's honestly, you would feel better not having your hands on the top hold than having it all over and not actually getting. Same with zone. If you're touching the zone but you're not actually getting the control or use of it, it's really frustrating to walk away with 0 points.
Yeah, it plays on your mental side for sure. We see
on the right, Stasha Gayo from Serbia getting ready to get on women's number 1. Always brushing very, very
diligently.
Yeah. Well, she's a very seasoned competitor, so she knows right away, oh, those footholds, yes, I need to brush them right away. And Zach Galla on the left from USA, not at the Salt Lake City World Cup last weekend, so this is his first World Cup of the season.
He does all 3 disciplines, so he does lead, he does speed. He had almost a full season of all disciplines in 2019.
And he just missed out on making that Olympic team by placing 2nd at Pan American Championships. So he was close. He was very close. really reading this boulder well for the men. Very confident in every foot placement.
Looking to see if she can generate off of
The lower foot, possibly.
the foothold, really.
She's one of the taller competitors, so that other foot, that higher left foot, might be a little uncomfortable for her, but she might just have to do it quick and stand up right into it. Nicely
Great
done.
stick.
She's like, oh, that?
Good
Easy.
top from Zach.
Really
And
nice.
I think we want to see the same from Stasha. Yes.
Just needs to get her second hand on, and she's gonna walk away
That's a
with
great
a
flash.
top.
Good way to start your round. She
Best
is
way.
an exciting climber to watch.
Yes.
She's one of the, you always know how she's feeling. You can tell that
Lots
smile.
of emotion. Kylie Collins setting up for the jump. Oh, two hands.
Two hands.
I honestly would have thought that's not the best idea, but she hit the perfect part of that hold in order to make it work for her.
Just taking a second here, you sort of see that composure. Okay, now what do I need to do? I looked at it from the ground, had an idea of what I thought I would do when I got here, and now I need to solve the geometry puzzle that is the top of this boulder, and we've yet to see it done.
I honestly think she is going to find this hip position because she has very long legs, so she's probably going to think, I can't fit in this box, so I'm going to maybe use a hip or a knee. She's set up nicely now. Oh, she's actually going to go for the drop knee.
Oh,
I'm surprised she did that.
The left foot just slipped out and just gave out as she was making that last push.
I hope more competitors find that hip placement there.
And I love this.
It's so great.
It's such a good looking boulder. The vertical line, these are all little pockets. They're hard to match. They're a little bit fidgety. You have to compress. As soon as you put all of your limbs one above the other, your balance point actually gets quite tricky. Oriane
just needs to have the right momentum here. A little too much on
got
that
the flip,
attempt.
but didn't quite get the friction on the flip on that right hand side.
And what I love about that boulder too is, so the athletes think, oh, this is the move, but then they don't realize that actually the match at the top might be even
be
more
the hardest
difficult
part.
and tricky. A little too much power there from Rei Sumomoto. We've seen a lot of the athletes who are successful at that move keep their left hand down to kind of create that opposition and really press into the zone hold. And what he did could work, but it's a little more difficult. Afra Hunig.
We're going to see a lot of the competitors taking a lot of tries on that boulder. It is
such a learned movement.
Very difficult to learn movement. It's important not to get discouraged when you're not doing the first move of a boulder. It's important to remember that you just have to stay calm in your mind and keep working at it and not give up before the time runs out. Speaking of, 1 minute to go. Kylie you're not going to want to have to try the start of this again with less than 30 seconds. So this is going to be important here for Kylie.
Needs to sink into the hip, but still going with the foot, that drop knee instead of just kind of letting her hip move over and keep that right leg straight.
Oriane with the catch now and has to solve the footwork to match the last hold. This is a stressful place to be.
Ooh, nice with a match,
really
with her
good
foot match. Again, still an awkward position. Oh, very nicely done by Oriane Berton. And that's going to be 2 tops for her, which
doesn't sound like a lot, but at
for
the moment,
this round, it seems like it might be, it could be enough. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see, but it's not as many boulders being topped so far in this round. Ooh, nice double clutch jump there.
Oh!
Pushing it.
Just running out. Yeah, had to push it at the end of the buzzer. I think that boulder is going to be one of the ones you need. It hasn't proved difficult. It's going to need tops. So we didn't see what Sean's earlier attempts looked like, but something was foiling his efforts up to that point. So the third in a row now on the left side of your screen is Nathaniel Coleman. And on the right side, we've got Kyra Connie. So Americans are going to climb together through the whole round. And you can see Sean Bailey just on the left brushing. So a little American heavy on the mats right now. The home crowd is going to love that.
And both Nathaniel Coleman and Kyra Connie are qualified for the Olympics this summer. So it's actually really cool. We have 6 women and in the semifinal and 5 men in the semifinal that are Olympic qualified athletes. And what's really cool about that is, their training cycle is different right now because the World Cup circuit is not what they're focused on. They're focused on Tokyo. So to see them in the semifinal, it's just great for their training. I mean, obviously they want to make the final 2, but it's more confidence boosting in terms of how their training's going for the Olympic Games since they have a very different goal for later on in this year.
Exactly. You always want to win, but you do have to keep your eyes on what for you in each season is the biggest prize. Tammy moving very well here.
Be surprised if he didn't find the knee bar position quickly. Oh, I see that right now. I stand corrected. I am very surprised.
Lost money. I would have lost money on the number of men that have tried to do some weird heel, hip, toe opposition move, and then he finds it as designed.
Really confident once he found it.
Yeah, the body language changes when you realize that knee bar is going to hold you up.
Yoshiyuki on the right, moving his way through men's number 4. Another boulder we've seen quite a few tops from at this point. But a lot of the men getting to this position and then just not finding the right way to kind of hop to that finish hold. It's really insecure.
And it's got to be left hand.
Slippery.
And slippery.
Yep. As Vita Lukin works her way up into the top, this little double clutch catch. Ooh, not enough power there.
Not tall enough. Yeah, she
was
low,
sinking
down. You need to be up high on a boulder like that. And
Katja Debovets.
Looking solid.
Nice top there from her. And, she's been in many finals, very familiar face in the finals. Never on a podium, though. Yet. She hasn't been on a podium yet, but frequently in finals. So she'll be really happy with that top.
Sort of waiting for the first one. Sean Bailey.
One hand on the finish.
Excellent
and 2.
work from Sean.
And great boulder to get topped.
Yeah,
not as many men.
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't given a lot of tops to us yet. And you see Petra now trying to do the static approach. This is going to be...
Wow.
It's going to work. Okay. Maybe it's always hard to tell if it's harder or not because each athlete is different.
In my opinion, that was a riskier way to try that move. The jump across, it seems scary, but actually jumping across, once you hit it, not as risky. But it depends on what you want to do. It worked for her, so...
Yeah, therefore, it is the easiest method
for that
Petra.
attempt, for sure. I feel like that's one of those movements that might be harder to do over and over again. It's definitely going to zap your energy more than just jumping across would be. But she's going to take her time here to kind of try to figure out what body position she has to be in. Again, the top's so close. Oh, she sees the hip.
She sees it.
She just needs to get into it a little differently. If she gets both of her hands on either, or one hand on each hold to then bring her right foot up, that'll make it easier for her to sink into the hip.
Just a quick chalk up here from Yoshiyuki. No big deal. He's just slipping. 1 minute to go. We should get another attempt from him. And Petra still wrestling with
She's in the right
position.
orientation now. She just needs to pull up a little, get her hip in there, and start inching her way up. Oh,
she's so close.
Now she's trying with the foot. She was trying with the hip earlier, but it looks like she might think that the foot is better, as we've seen most of the women try. It just pushes them too far out from the wall in order to get in the right position to then, because the thing is there's no hold on that top volume, so they have to just touch it. So theoretically, it would be very hard to be locked in pushing against those holds with both legs. Now, if you put your hip, you can kind of jam it in there and sit. But it's just hard in 5 minutes to be able to figure that out after, solving puzzle after puzzle after puzzle.
And being here, she might run out of time.
She definitely needs to make a decision at some point.
2 minutes on a boulder. That's a bit of a shrug from Petra Klingler. What do I need to do? The route setters will ask you that question many times over. What do you need to do? And that's part of their job. That is proving to be a very well-set boulder.
Yeah.
It's giving these women just enough fits to not be sure how to work their way through the body position to get to that top. So not overly powerful, not overly technical, but just confusing
honestly,
enough.
not overly difficult. It's mostly just, it's kind of tricky. It's a boulder where you look at it, it's got a couple moves, and they're like big holds. You see a couple moves and just big holds. You're like, oh, that seems
I could
doable.
do that. Seems easy enough.
And then the next thing you know, you're like, wait, what
am
do
I
they want
supposed
me
to
to
do
do?
here?
Where's the body position? I can't find it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the mark of a really well set competition boulder, is something that can make seasoned competitors confused and lost, really, in what should be not that difficult. So
Kylie Cullen coming off a little early on women's number 4 as Zach Galla is quickly into men's number 2, nicely into that like dynamic
Powerful
press
move.
position. So much control here.
right.
Another quick press in here. Oh, he's trying to kind of down pull on it instead of pressing up into it. We'll see if that ends up working.
The contact strength there to just hold on that pinch and move to the last hold. That's really good work from
Definitely
Zach.
more difficult way to do it, but hey, sometimes when you're just that strong.
You just do what works.
Afra Hunig on women's number 3, getting ready to do this jump across move. We'll see if she goes with the dynamic route or decides to try and static. Looks like she's going to set up to jump though. She's in the perfect position to throw her left foot over to that volume and hold that swing. Oh, nicely done.
Really nice.
And she kind of went with her right hand to the outside of the boulder to create that opposition, which was really smart. Stasha
Slash on the
Gayo
left.
nicely avoiding that black tape. And that is another sign of seasoned competitor.
I mean, it's not the designed way, but she's looking at how to use the wall to her advantage, as we see Alex Magos trying to find the knee bar. Does it quite easily.
I will be interested to see if Afra is able to finish this way. It's easier to be on that zone hold.
Hands on the zone
And then-
right side.
Well, you can have hands on both, but you want your leg to be on the right side. So, because the way the left volume is, it's easier to sink your hip into it. On the right side, it's sticking out more and it's tilted a little bit.
Right.
So even if you get in the right position, you might be out from the wall a bit more, but doesn't mean it's impossible.
It's options. A quick look at the men's leaderboard right now. Yoshigi Ogata sitting on top with 3 tops and a zone. Maximilian Milne right up there with him, also with 3 tops and a zone. Ray here, just looking at this last move. A really good look at the position you've got to get in to generate power. And I invite you next time you're in the gym to find a hold that you can get both hands and 1 foot on and then dangle under it and see how much momentum you can generate. And that is a really, really awkward body position. If you pull too hard, you run the risk of ejecting yourself too far away from the wall. There's lots of subtlety to a movement like that. A couple of the climbers are really straightforward. Stasha now going mantle method versus find the wall. She can just get...
Nice. When in doubt, knee it out.
Yeah, why not? Put a knee down. All means necessary. It's great. She is excited.
Always so much excitement and passion. A dynamic climber in personality and in her physical abilities to watch. In a much better flow here on women's number 4. This cross move is so lovely, honestly. It's painful, but it's so
nice.
smart. You really have to want it if you want to cross into that hold.
Yu Nakagawa looking at just
close on that
getting
jump.
close. And
She felt it.
yeah, 30
She's like,
seconds.
I have time.
Run to the chalk bag. Sean here on the right side. Still working out how to get up through.
There,
the
Kylie
zone.
rocks over nicely. Oh, a little slip though. And again, those holds are all dual textured. So there is a slippery texture to them and then an actual friction side. But the friction side is very small. So you have to be very specific with your hand placements, your foot placements. And if you're off even a little, you can just be off the wall in 2 seconds. You might be hearing the crowd cheer very loudly for another U.S. athlete, Brooke Rabatou, stepping up to women's number 1, placed 3rd last weekend at the first Salt Lake City Bouldering World Cup. That was her first final, and she's here in semis again, looking to see if she can repeat it. And get into another final.
And we talked to these athletes off and on over the course of the event last weekend during the week. And one of the questions I've asked some of the young podium athletes is it intimidating to have been on the podium and then now be thinking to repeat versus the first time where you're riding the wave all the way through? And they universally say that they use it as motivation. It doesn't add any extra pressure. The excitement builds and builds and builds and gives them something to work towards. So it will be very, very interesting to see what kind of performances we get out of the young finalists that we saw last weekend here in our second of back-to-back comps in Salt Lake City.
Little bobble there from both rabbits too, but able to like correct quickly, and that's something she does really well. She's really confident in her movements, and so when they're off, she just adjusts confidently instead of kind of halfway, and it usually works out for her. As Nicholas Cullen of Belgium is going to search for that finishing position here that we've seen so many of the men
get wrong
fiddle
the first
with.
time.
As they this boulder is a practice of patience, really, when you get to the top. Just how patient can you be in order to finish that boulder?
He's trying to do here, but you've got to believe in some friction to think that your left foot is just going to, perch like that.
And like
hold your body weight.
Like
Oh my goodness.
so much on the hamstrings.
Oh my goodness. And it gets an awkward but functional knee bar. And you've seen a few variations. It comes down to, as you said, the Shindex, which is important as we get a look here at Sean Bailey.
Going with more of a static method here in order to get, he kind of rocks up onto a perch and then reaches up into that Gaston, where most of the men have done it in one motion, which that move in and of itself is something that most people wouldn't feel comfortable doing. It's funny because it's slower, so maybe you wouldn't think it's harder, but that was much harder than
much harder
the dynamic
and a really
way.
good top.
Yeah, my knee hurts watching
No, Yannick, you saw him just looking at a bit of a heel kind of compression. There is a hold on that long zone hold. He's just about to brush. So just right where that pink tape lines up where he's brushing now, there is a small hold that gives you a little bit of opposition, helps you stick the zone, and he was looking at heel to establish. So we've yet to see somebody solve the top cleanly of number 4.
Kyra was looking close to that toe touch position as Nathaniel Coleman is nicely into the dynamic, or through the dynamic jump and into this press here.
He's one of the taller climbers. This might feel a bit more awkward for him, but I don't see any issues with Tana. He's such a strong climber that a little bit of extra compression. And are we going to see? Are we going to see it?
Katya trying to find that right position to get to the top.
Close.
This is not what the setter's intended, but it looks like she has a good chance of making it happen. She is in a nice position. Wow. Not having her hips facing the wall at all.
To match?
Like I was saying earlier, that's a lot of pressure on the legs to be stuck in that position. If she were to just sink her hip in, she could literally just let go and hang there.
She's 3 inches away from being comfortable, and that's the closest we've seen. And 1 minute to go now. You see Petra on your left. Yannick showing you that just because you've done the first move once doesn't mean you can do it again.
Brooke Rabbitoo coming up a little short on that jump move as Kyra Connie nicely controls that tension release.
She's got time to finish the boulder.
Just needs to keep it together, not rush it. In these positions, again, because they're so pressy, you have to be patient to find that right body position. You don't want to force it. Like Petra earlier, she's kind of struggling to get that foot up. She needs to probably go a little more dynamically to throw it. Nice match. That made it a lot easier.
Kyra has 2 speeds, standing still
or very fast.
And very fast. So this will be
not a place to rush it. Very nicely done by Kyra Condi.
That's a great top from Kyra.
And again, the women haven't had as many tops so far in this round, so getting a top on any of these boulders should put them in a great position to possibly make it into the final later tonight.
Yeah, great work. As you said, when you know there's a beep at 1 minute, and then there's a countdown from 5. You hear the beep, and you know a minute. You're sort of playing it out in your head. But to have composure at the top of a boulder, you'll see it. That's not the first time you're going to see somebody rush to finish. We've seen it a couple times already. You have to move quick enough to get to the top before the clock runs out, but not so quick that you run the risk of having your feet slip or make mistakes. And that was a really, really nice piece of climbing at the top of that boulder from Karakani.
New climbers out on boulder number 1 from France, Mejdi Schultz, who was on the podium last weekend and in Meiringen in the final, as Zach Gala is flying through men's number 3 undercling. We've seen Gaston after Gaston, and he decided to go with an undercling. Very powerful,
Wow.
so much contact strength.
That's
Also, a minute and 10 seconds that he did that, like maybe even less. He probably stood on the ground for
and looked
20
at it
seconds.
for 20
Like,
seconds.
that was a very quick boulder. Afra in a very weird position on women's number 4. That would be so
Crazy.
impressive to get out of.
Yeah, exactly. I think she reached across. Sometimes you see climbers go and get the zone hold, even though they've climbed themselves into a bit of the wrong sequence. They'll go and touch the zone hold and use it so they get it on that attempt and they don't burn an attempt making a mistake. And then sometimes you'll just see that if they can't reverse the position they got into, they'll just let go.
And I actually don't think that they gave her the zone for that, because she was kind of just touching it but not able to really control it or move her body position. Like they say, control or use in the rule book, and by use it's establishing a different body position. So it's kind of up to the judge's discretion as well.
You see Mejdi here going a bit high before making
Very high now.
making the transition.
He was in a position that we've seen some of the men do before, but then he switched it to very high.
So this is back to that. Did you climb past where you think the sequence would be? And this is him just showing confidence in his own ability to hold a position and getting it just a bit wrong. He was on the podium last weekend. He's still very young. He's 17 years old. He's a seasoned youth competitor, and you immediately think because he climbed so well into and in the final that we'll see it again. And just maybe a little bit of nerves on boulder 1. Stasha here.
Oh, I think she sees the hip. She does. She just needs to be able to rock up into it a bit more. And what's interesting is it does take a lot of power in the shoulders and the triceps to actually get stood up into this chimney for a second to then set the hip. And I mean, this is the women's 3rd boulder of the round. There was a very powerful one before it, so they're fatigued. And you see the top. You're fighting. You're like, I've already done the bottom. I'm so close. I don't want to let go. Because this position I could stay in for a very long time.
I could stand here all day.
She's in a worse position now. But isn't going to make it happen on that attempt, but still has time to get back up there. As Fanny Gibert on women's number 1 sets up for the jump here. We've seen some of the women catch it. Ooh, really nice control.
3 fingers on the bottom edge.
Keeping that left hand low made it a lot more controlled for her.
It's not academic. Great work.
Nicely done.
Really nice for Fanny Gibert. She'll be happy with that. And Mejdi getting a little bit stumped. So 4 minutes gone. He's going to be down into Now or Neverland.
Neverland. Little Peter Pan reference
Little Peter Pan reference. Rei Sugimoto will be really hoping for a top here.
Oof,
with
just
only
a little
one so
out.
far. Just a little bit. You're right. A little falling away.
That foot that they have to stand on too is just so tiny.
Mejdi.
Well, this is much better beta for sure. A lot less stress on his body than he had early on getting up here.
Let's see how he decides. He doesn't look comfortable here.
He's doing things differently each time, so that's interesting. It's a question, did he forget or did he not really like how he did it the first time, trying to make it feel a little bit better? Just not finding that jam.
Doesn't look comfortable in any of the moves on this boulder, and that's, I mean, there is definitely an aspect of style. And do you find a boulder that's in your style? 5 seconds to go for Afra and Rei. Oh my goodness. Rei getting as close as anyone since the only top from Manuel. Sometimes you get that. Manuel doing very, very well from the start of the field. And you think that, lots of climbers will then top this boulder because we've seen Manuel top the boulder and we've seen no one top it since.
On the right, Camila Moroni And on the left, Alex Waterhouse in his first bouldering semifinal.
It's only his second Open World Cup.
He actually went to university in the States, so we had him at a lot of the bouldering nationals for a few years. Very great competitor. He made finals before, and it's great to see him out here. Also, I hadn't seen him in a long time. It was really great to see him.
It's literally good to see him.
It was really good to see him because he
you.
used to be here all the time.
Right.
And, now he's back in England.
So he's an adopted local.
And really easily getting through this jam section. Very comfortable,
Looking
reading
calm.
it nicely.
Yeah. Sometimes competition boulders climb like rock climbs, and this is one that climbs like a rock climb. And
Definitely
you need to be
intended to
precise.
climb like a rock climb.
Exactly. And the chief route setter just walked by with a smile on his face, so he likes what he sees so far, as do we, and hopefully as do you at home watching. That's a great
Really nice flash for Alex Waterhouse, and
now he's excited.
such a character. I love watching him climb, always smiling, really excited when things work out. I'd love to see the athletes celebrate.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because sometimes some athletes don't, and it's really nice to see really great coordination there by Camila Moroni. She's got to set up nice in a good position for this jump.
Just making decisions. You see a little left foot, a little right foot decision making. What are we going to get?
Oh.
Nathaniel Coleman going right hand.
He almost tried to pinch the outside.
It looked like it, yeah.
He is taller, so he was able to kind of hold it there for a second and then be like, oh, I'm actually going to flip that into a Gaston, a little more comfortable, secure. Katja Debevets inching.
Exactly, inching her way up this vertical stack of
a little out of sequence now.
Out of sequence to the zone, but I mean, maybe she's going to find a way to go top first. I don't know.
Will be interesting to see if they gave her the zone for that move. She might be able to match now.
Oh, that's a horrible
close.
match. That is it. They're shallow, those pockets.
She had a good effort at matching, but that has to be so painful. They did give her the zone, so.
Sean Bailey on your right, getting up into the zone. Are we going to see another top on boulder number 4?
If he finds the right body position, he could definitely make it happen. It's just here it gets so tricky. The feet are so small, and you have to generate quite a bit to get up there. But if you can get up there and you pinch it hard enough, a move that he should be pretty good at.
Yes.
Oh, really nice
Sean
tension
Bailey.
in the feet, and he's going to be so happy with that.
That is
finish.
wonderful
Really
climbing.
great round for Sean Bailey.
That is our best score through. 4 tops from Sean Bailey. That's you almost feel like that's Sean getting his potential. He is so good out of competition. You see him in practice and training. He's so dynamic and so explosive and such an excellent rock climber as well. Great stick from Camila. Can she finish here? Lots of time.
No need to
Nothing
rush
to worry
it.
about.
But that foot, her right foot, this is why that last move is kind of difficult, is it's another dual textured foot and not a lot of friction, but she makes it happen. Really good save. You see that sigh of relief getting off the boulder.
A minute to go now. We have she's climbing her way into the wrong hand sequence several times in a row now.
It's definitely a really uncomfortable climb.
If you're doing it right.
Honestly, the climb is uncomfortable doing it right. So you kind of want to, and the other holds are so close, so you think, oh, maybe I can grab something else, but it just sets her body up so poorly.
This Colin finding a way to bend around.
We've seen a couple of the men try this before, and he was in a more secure position, but it's just so hard to release that toe hook with so much momentum, so that it's actually a harder move to get out of, and doing the jump would be easier. Oh,
Doing what Petra was doing. Traverse. Gotta go get his zone. I'm going to argue that 5 seconds is not enough time for a top
if she sinks her hip, it could be. Not enough.
Not enough clock.
Good climbing though from Kyra Kandi. It's funny, if you have one hand on each hold, you can then pull up into it, but the minute you have 2 hands on the one side, it makes it so much harder to get pulled up into that chimney.
That's going to be one of those boulders that when we finally see someone do it right, the light bulb is going to go off for you at home as well and say, that's what Megan is talking about. Megan she's been on this boulder, so she knows what needs to happen to do it. And it's going to become just a moment where you say, oh, wait a minute, I understand what that looks like. And
tricky.
It is so much easier than you think it's going to be.
It is tricky, and it doesn't make sense at first, so that's why all of the women are just trying to do something different. But I'm sure someone's going to figure it out. I have faith in these athletes.
Yeah, you have to. We have to have faith.
You is almost up on that. She had a little slip there. She hadn't really committed to like placing her feet so aggressively. She was kind of too high above it, not really mantling. Mejdi quickly through that coordination. This is definitely suiting him a bit better than that first boulder.
Shook off whatever that was and is moving well here.
That's what you got to do. You can't dwell on the boulder before. It doesn't matter.
This is the pass.
Each one's different.
Smegos on the radio screen.
It's interesting he hasn't come in now. He's come in like Zach Gallup, kind of down pulling and pinching instead of pressing into this hold. But if you're strong enough, you can make it happen. But
Not
that
quite. Yeah, it's hard to
compression
hold.
isn't there anymore.
Exactly. It seems like a good idea at the time, and then it kind of falls apart. We see Simon in the men's incorrect finish.
It's
body
like a
position.
dance. It's basically the little men's #1 dance at the very top of the boulder.
It's a two-step. I'm going to go
If
right foot,
anyone
left foot.
wants to make a GIF of this or maybe a meme, I think that's a great idea.
This would be the time to do it. It's definitely.
So nicely into
there
the
it goes.
knee bar that time. It's funny, the minute you find it, you're like, oh, well.
Wait a minute. That's how that.
I've now mastered the dance.
I can walk away happy.
Oof.
Simon Lorenzi starting his round off
Stasio
as you want to.
Falling out of that shoulder move in the wrong orientation of the holds. That looked painful. It hurt my shoulder watching it.
And on boulder #1, Akio Noguchi.
An athlete that really doesn't need an introduction.
I was trying to think of the right thing to
what
say.
do I say? I mean, just overall legend, I think, is a great way to go for
Absolutely.
Akio.
Not here last weekend. Just timing and preparation.
Another Olympic qualified athlete.
Olympic qualified athlete, wanted to do the speed, podiumed in speed.
Oh, Miho.
Sorry.
Podiumed in speed. It's okay. We've got 8 climbers on the wall. So many days of commentating. We're not perfect.
No. Mejdi here coming back through. Fanny on your left, just not quite getting the movement right.
Women's #2 is very tricky and difficult, and a lot of the women have struggled on it, as Mejdi is going to try to find the right position here. Again, same thing that he did before, but maybe he has enough power to hold it.
Yep.
Just needs 2 hands. Oh, nicely done by Mejdi. I was having a little chat with him and Manu yesterday, and I asked them, do you guys train together a lot? Because they have a nice rapport, they have a good connection, and they're similar climbers in terms of the energy and passion out on the mats. And they said, Manu says, well, I'm in Paris and he's in the south of France, and he doesn't want to come and train with me in Paris as much. And I get it, the south of France, I mean,
it's a beautiful place.
Who wants to leave the south of France?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. It would be a great place to live and train.
But they do have a really nice camaraderie and support. I think maybe Manu sees a bit of himself in the young Mejdi.
And it is important to remember they do travel as a team. There's a few smaller teams throughout the World Cup circuit, but generally the support of your teammates in the days leading up and in the warm-up and all of those things, it's not to be discounted. That being able to be in semifinals with a teammate, having that support in isolation beforehand and in the warm-up
makes a world of difference.
Makes a huge difference.
Stasha a little out of sequence, but she could make it happen.
Just trying to roll across, and you see how uncomfortable all of the women are standing in the footholds on that boulder. Getting up into the mantle. Not quite.
I almost feel like that starting hole needs to be brushed more. It's getting a lot of boot rubber on it.
Stasha, even trying to get up there, took one last crack at it with only a few seconds on the clock. 2 tops and a zone is going to be interesting on the women's field. We're getting down to it. We are in our last 6 qualifiers here now. Well, the top third of the field in the semifinal. And the coming out for the first time.
On the right.
Sota Amagasa on the left. Sorry, I got ahead of you.
Sorry, my bad. And then Futaba Ito on the right. 2 younger Japanese climbers as well.
Yeah, Sota only 20 years old, and he's been on the podium. This is his 3rd Open World Cup. He's spent some time on the podium as a youth climber. He knows what it feels like to top boulders and routes.
Finding that jam quickly too.
Look at all that. You can see all of this
So slippery.
skate marks.
It's like surfing over here.
Yeah, and that's when the route setters were talking about this boulder, that's exactly what they were miming was they're just going to see a hand jam and a bunch of paddling. And it just makes you a little bit tired and a little bit insecure, and it adds a layer of risk. And these are all the things that you want to pile on top of the climber and see if you can get in their head a little bit. Futaba going big.
It's a good effort. You definitely need to have power for that movement as Karakani.
Oh my goodness, almost!
You know, that was really good on the fly.
Yes. Decision making.
Decision making, for sure. Better than my decision making of my words. As Brooke Rabitou sets up for the jump across here. Ooh, a little
she
too
tried to
fast.
go double maybe, like she was going to go all the way across.
Instead of kind of catching and holding that barn door. And we've seen some of the women go with 2 hands, but she looked like she wanted to propel into the next one, which
catch the swing around.
you never know.
You never
it's something
know.
the route setters could come up with at some point. The more dynamic the climbing gets, the more creative the route setting, and then the climbers have to be equally open-minded and creative about it as well. So it's not a bad idea, but probably not the best.
Skipping the crimp.
Why not?
Why not?
Just jump. If you have the power.
Ooh,
Slip at the very end.
Like that. But he knows he can do it. He's got lots of time.
Futaba Ito falling off at that last move, which we've been talking about, is not a giveaway move. It's still difficult to the end.
She's maybe moving with the excitement and the adrenaline of the first boulder, and you sometimes come out a little bit too powerful. And she spun herself out of that last hold. Sota here, putting his feet low as you need to.
Nicely in that jam. If you look at his left foot, he's really twisting it, and it makes it more secure. And as long as you have strong ankles, it's fine.
It's fine, exactly.
See if he can find that knee bar position in order to match that top hold, which is just a little screw on that we've seen a few of the men try to crimp, but you really can't.
On the right side of your screen is our current standings. Sean Bailey at the top, the only climber to top 4 boulders. Zach Gallo with 3, Yoshiyuki with 3, Max Milne with 3, Emmanuel Cornu with 3 tops. So that's looking good at the top of the field right now, and Sota does the 2-step.
See if it looks like he's in a better position. He just needs to really sink into it. You turn and sink. It's kind of, there he goes. Oh,
a bit too low.
Just for that right hand.
Reaching across your body.
That looks better. He just needs to get that right hand over enough, and he's going to be able to do it. Nice top by Sota. Amagasa. He's super psyched. A little celebration there.
It was 14th last weekend, so he'll be looking to improve on that. 6 in Meringen the week before, so in the final, and then just out. And then we'll see what he can do this time. Futaba. Kandi staring at the last hold with the what do I need to do. A good look here at Nicholas Collins' finishing move.
Brings that other, wow, what
Turns
a way
around.
to finish. I mean,
just in case you thought you had good shoulder mobility, have a quick look at the position that Nicholas got himself into there.
Brooke Rabitou kind of fighting to find that position that we've seen so many of the women struggle with. It's honestly just a route reading issue at this point. They're making it way harder than it needs to be.
And she looks like she's going to try and get opposition on the finish hold before, like she's staring up before looking down.
She's
wait a minute.
finding the hip, but it needs to be on the other side. If she could maybe just think about the other.
So she found a position.
She just needs to be on the other side.
And the clock is ticking down. This is going to be exciting.
She could, if she can inch up a little bit more.
Nathaniel Coleman on your left, also staring down the top.
She's going to do it. Brooke Rabitou with the first problem solving of women's number 3, which is so big for her because she did not top 1 or 2. And she honestly did top it the wrong way.
The wrong way?
Well, not maybe the wrong way. Wrong is the wrong term, honestly. But
the
more
less right
difficult,
way?
even though it was to the right, it is the less or the more difficult way. If she had her hip on the left side, it would have been more comfortable, a little less fight to get into it, but great problem solving by Brooke Rabbitzio.
And really under pressure. That was with 4 seconds.
Clock. And not having any tops prior to that, she really needed to do that if she wants to even be in the running for another final.
100% agree. And interestingly, this is the reverse of last weekend. So last weekend we saw a lot of tops on the women's semifinal and almost none on the men's side. And now we're seeing right now 2 tops will put you in the final on the women's side.
And you mentioned earlier that the chief route setter, Jamie, did mention that it was going to kind of be like that for the men and women. They're kind of switching with the women having more powerful boulders and the men having more slabs. So
we're seeing
playing
the result
out
of that
way.
here.
So the route setters to me are so impressive. Oh, Misty!
Oh my
really
goodness.
making it happen. They're so dynamic.
The exuberance and the power of youth.
That hurt my fingers,
That hurt
honestly.
my fingers too. That's definitely not how that is designed, but it is, as we've said a few times now, that if you can do it and it works for you, then really there's nothing to talk about. You don't get to say, oh, you did it wrong. I did it.
No,
I
you
topped
did it.
the boulder. Therefore, I was, it was okay.
That move is, if you're confident and really powerful and you have that contact strength, you can really do it anyway. It's just it just might be a little harder, a little more risky.
Yeah, and you only think about that if you miss. If you miss that, you say, "Oh my goodness, that was definitely the wrong way to do that." You're never going to hold a fingertip dynamic undercling, and then when you do it right, you don't have to worry about it quite as much. Fanny Joubert now
quickly into that mantle. She's so good at very technical slabs and mantles. Just a little off on that jump across. She was kind of too bunched up.
And Nakagawa also looking uncomfortable, sort of trying to solve the final body position while holding on to the last 2 holds. And that's what you need to do is, once you're there, my feet, do I need to switch my feet?
How can I switch my feet? There's not a lot of friction to stand on.
Nikolai Uzhnik on the left of your screen. Getting into that higher position that we've seen only a couple of climbers do. Manuel did this earlier as well. Mejdi did it and didn't work for him.
Natalia Grossman on the right, who was the World Cup champion from last weekend, just kind of coming up short on that jump as Nikolai looks to almost figure it out. It's almost like that move, when we've seen it done that way, they kind of just drop the foot fully and just go into the shoulders and then bring the left foot up. He was trying to kind of turn over his right foot, which made it a little more difficult. Nice look at Alex Magos. Yeah, that was such a good close-up. Alex Magos.
And reversing it back just to sort of get a little bit of pressure off his left hand, a little bit of chalk, and he's going to look at this heel hook. An excellent technical climber by all accounts, Alex Magos. This competition bouldering is not his game, but he is still very, very good at it. And I tell you,
I'm not sure if it's not his game. He's just, maybe he's equally so good outside, right?
Fair point.
That's what it is, right? He's
Fair
just
point.
He's just good at all of it. Oh,
great
nice
stick from Fanny.
By Fanny Joubert.
Interesting to see. Oya Bertono, I think, who would have been disappointed after her round, only have 2 tops and 2 zones, is still sitting on top of the leaderboard.
And a top on the left from Natalia Grossman, able to stick that jump move that thwarted a lot of the women so far. As Fanny Joubert tries to figure out how exactly to get.
How do I do this?
We'll see if she finds that hip. All about
you can
the
almost
hip.
see the thought bubble as they go left to right, up and down, left to right, up and down. Just.
The knee. That hurts my skin.
And there's a point at which the climbers will all means necessary. So they'll start to try.
Nakagawa on that top hold, but not able to figure out. She's so much excitement when she gets down and sees she has time to get back on. I love that.
Alex Magos lining up the finish. Just unable. The feet, I assure you, the feet at the top of men's number 4 are so terrible.
They're absolutely awful. Not a lot of time left for Nikolai to get into that top hold, but if he moves quick enough, he could do it. It's getting harder and harder as he is at 5 seconds now, and
it's going to do it
not
for
going to be
both
enough time.
Fanny and Nikolai.
If you would have asked me that the women wouldn't be topping if the women wouldn't be topping number 3, that much, I would have said, what? What are you talking about? It's honestly surprising me so much that he hasn't, or that there's only seen one top on that one. I would have never guessed that going into this round.
And we're down now to our second place qualifiers here in Salt Lake City. You're watching the semi-final of the second weekend of our back-to-back competitions. I'm Pete Woods here with Megan Martin. We got a couple of climbers left. Miho Nanaka has just come out, and Tomoa Narasaki, a couple of absolute powerhouses from the Japanese team.
You said it. 2 Olympic qualified athletes as well. And I swear this happened last weekend. I can't believe we're already getting mostly through semis.
Oh my goodness, they're still, sort of, it takes them now. They've got 4 boulders to go, but we're getting down to the last couple of climbers coming out. Nicholas Collin moving well here on his first attempt.
So confident on his feet as Alex Waterhouse quickly sends men's number 3. So much excitement from Alex. He is having a wonderful round.
Yep, 2 tops on his own right now from him. Really good work. And Nicholas Collins sending down the finish on his flash attempt.
Brooke Rabatou on her first attempt. If she could get a flash here, this would be really big for her. Just needs to figure out how to match. Nice match by Brooke Rabatou. So confident on her feet. I'm sorry that was off screen,
but
it
was panning over and then came back.
I just wanted to fill you guys in for a second. As Anjay Peharts is trying to find that knee bar dance. Nicely done. Just sinks into it perfectly.
And that threw me off. Sorry, I said Tomoa because Sean got reinserted into the start list after his technical and reclimb. So when we're looking across left to right, we're out by 1 on the men's side. So we're going to be 1 behind. So Anjay is your 3rd best qualifier into the semifinal round on the men's side. Naka here.
Just a little short on the jump there, but
plenty of time. I would say not worried. I would say not worried about Miho doing this boulder.
Interesting. Futaba going with a different beta approach. Looks a little too span to make that happen as Sota Amagasa moves up into this.
Bounces into the press heap.
But in choosing not to use the press, we've seen some of the men do it that way. It's a little more difficult, but it can be done as Camila Maroney.
Looks like she's going to do the just barely.
Like a slower jump method.
It is intimidating. You stand up there on a slab, Miho making no mistakes, and just sort of casually campus matching the finish.
Yeah, there's a lot of contact strength there. Her foot goes, but she doesn't really need it anyway on that finish. Very confident. I was talking to one of my friends about that this week. There's so much that goes into World Cup climbing, but confidence is so important for these athletes on the boulders out here. They need to believe that they can do them and that they can make it into the final in order to make that happen. It's just such an important mental part of being successful in these competitions.
And part of what the route setters do is they rob you of that confidence by making you slip, by making you second guess your decision making, by taking time off the clock from you, and you stand on the mat and the clock is ticking, and all of that plays against one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, which is the confidence factor. Camila here being successful on the jump across, and we're just, I think I could just watch this boulder for the rest of the semifinal broadcast and wait, just
to see what happens.
Waiting for the first person to really
see that hip placement right away, right? It's been done now once, but took a lot of time to figure out that method. And now that I think about it, this is kind of that dance boulder for the women.
Yes,
just like doing a dance at the top, back and forth, trying to figure out how to finish the boulder. So to again slipping, he's not. I actually don't know if he sees the jib on the left side of the volume because he keeps trying to pinch in the middle section.
It's they're the same color hold. It's a black jib on a black volume. There's lots of chalk from where previous climbers have grabbed it. It seems comfortable to pinch it. Watch Camila here and her just shortening the jump as much as possible by inching over on that volume. Nicely done.
Now back into the dance of the chimney.
Look, there he sees it.
But loses the foot, not able to hold that swing.
And with 5 seconds, Nicholas Collin not going to have enough to get to the top of that boulder. And getting knocked around a little bit today. Boulders 1, 2, and 3 have seen some tops for sure. Boulder 4 has been holding out. So you probably hear in the background, the crowd is very, very excited to welcome
Janja Garnbret of Slovenia and Tomoa Narasaki of Japan, 2 Olympic qualified athletes. Janja, arguably the most dominant female boulder on the circuit.
7 World Cup wins in a row up until not being here last weekend.
2019 season won every bouldering World Cup, which had not been done before.
Never been done.
And so honestly, it was so much fun to watch the minute she topped that boulder. Wow!
And that's why you're looking at the difference at the top of the elite scale of Janja just being a little bit more explosive and a little bit more powerful and a little bit more certain of her movements.
I like that you just said that, certain of her movements. I've never seen someone commit so much to movements, because she does things a lot of times the way the route setters didn't intend at all. And if she wasn't so confident, I don't think it would work all the time. But she is, once she decides to do something a specific way, she just goes for it all the way, and it always works.
Yep. So here we are. We see Mejdi fighting his way into boulder number 3. See down on the bottom left, a zone on the first boulder, and then 2 tops. 2 and 3. Fanny Gibert here having topped the first boulder.
Looking more comfortable than most people on this boulder.
Yeah, climbing technically very well.
Which is in her wheelhouse. Just her right leg was pulling her a bit too far to the right in order to catch that undercling, that cool coordination double clutch move.
And remember, the top 6 go through, so we go from 20 to 6. That's why we often say the semifinal round is the hardest round. So we have to take 20 of the best climbers in the world and carve off 14 of them to get down to 6. So we have to make them fall. We have to get separation, and we are doing that very, very well here. Excellent team of route setters splitting this field down as we see Nikolai Uznik pressing his way up into boulder number 2. I'm enjoying watching the men fight their way through here.
It's a fun boulder to watch, for sure. Top by Simone Lorenzi.
A lot of them, as you said, are pinching. You see that right hand. It's a big, broad pinch.
Ooh, so much power and control there. That pulling up into the shoulders as he hit that finish hold made it so much easier for him to control that swing and to really use everything on that finish hold.
Mejdi on your right, couple tops on boulders 2 and 3. Currently looking.
He's in the running still.
He's in the running still. Not topping boulder 1 might become a problem, but we'll see what he can do here. This is the boulder in front of us. Minute 45 for him. We've got a good look at Simone Lorenzi on his top of.
Doing the method we've seen done a few times now. Not the method we saw earlier in the round, but seems to be more powerful and a little more aggressive on the fingers. But I mean, these men are so strong, so they're getting it done. As Tomoa Narasaki confidently into that knee bar.
At the start of that boulder, I think, but a top is a top at this point.
Now, if anyone could do this method without the hip, I could see Akio being capable, but
you see, just as that, it looks comfortable,
good, yep.
And as soon as the hand comes out to reach for the top hold, you're losing that little bit of extra opposition.
It's just so much on your legs, and they're not in a great position in order to maintain that power and opposition that you need. So if she can figure out how to sink the hip, which now everyone knows what it looks like if you've been paying attention during this entire live stream. You saw Brooke Rabitu find that hip placement.
30 seconds is, I mean, it's enough, but it's hustle time. You look over on your right, and Breton still sitting at the top. 2 tops and 2 zones. Brooke Rabitu, Stasha in third. As Akio on the top on the first 2 boulders.
So she really does need a top here.
Needs a top here.
She's really running out of time. Let's see if she can make a quick decision. Oh, not going to make it happen here.
The boulder's not agreeing with Akio. today.
Not a normal thing that we see from Akio. We often see her climb very well in the semifinals, and she's in so many finals all the time. So not having a good round for her, but I mean, if she could top the last one.
She could top the last one. It's still going to be interesting because we're
There's
we're
still a
starved
chance.
for tops.
We're not over yet.
Yeah, we're a bit starved for tops. So
we'll have to see what she does.
Right now is looking good. And now he was going to climb all by himself through the rest of the round. Is Kokoro Fuji, our top qualified semifinalist on the men's side. Again, part of the Japanese
and Miho
contingent
Nanaka
here.
stepping up on women's number 2, this toe hook catch. A move that I could see her doing well on. It'd be awesome to see someone flash that move.
It would have been. I was going to say, as you were saying, it would be. It will be. We'll see what happens when Rania gets a swing at it, if she can flash that boulder.
Futaba quickly up on that mantle on women's number 3, just getting ready to set up for this jump across. Looks like she will be jumping. She's kind of holding on to that crack in the wall that a few of the women have used.
It's tough to generate. This is a tricky boulder all around, but you're trying to jump off of something that as soon as you start to apply pressure feels insecure, and you're jumping to something that is equally insecure.
Exactly. Sota Amagasa setting up for that finish, going with that undercling method again. It's funny that the first half of the competitors often win Gaston, and now we're seeing more and more undercling finish as Kokoro Fuji nicely finishes men's number 1.
Solid
quickly.
flash. Yeah, very quickly. And Miho, second try.
Yeah. I thought that move was made for her.
Yep. Just using look, the black tape there is out of bounds, so you cannot touch the wall on the other side of the black tape from where your boulder is. So you do have to be aware of it. This is looking uncomfortable, but I feel like she's going to make it
nice
happen.
Nice position still to make it happen. Great climbing from Miho Nanaka. She's having a really great week already on the podium in speed. We've never seen a climber who wasn't a speed specialist from the women end up on the speed podium, which is big for her going into the Olympics, as she'll be doing that combined event. So she's getting closer and closer to having times that really compete with those speed specialists.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And then to be able to get your way into or make a podium in the boulder comp at the same event, that's what the combined is all about. So this is
great training.
Practice. Camila and then everybody coming off at the same time there. They're both such precarious boulders for both halves of the field. Number 4 is on your toes and careful.
Futaba setting up for the jump again for the women's. I feel like when you're using that crack in the middle of the wall, it kind of makes it so you're not paying as much attention to swinging your foot. So it's hard to place it in the right position on the volume. And we've seen a lot of the women who use that little crack have a harder time landing that little jump across.
Yeah, exactly. It's counterintuitive to think the closer I get, the easier it will be. But in fact, the closer you get, sometimes the harder it will be because you do not have room.
Yep, exactly. Camila Moroni taking another attempt here in a really good position. She climbs this bottom section very well. Just needs to figure out how to hold that little barn door with her leg as she much better on that.
Oh my goodness, another match. The second hardest part of the hardest part of the last boulder.
I want to say it's the hardest part of that boulder. It's the match.
As you see, Taba just came spinning into focus.
She's really just not putting enough emphasis on placing her foot. She's relying too much on the possibility of grabbing that hold because it's a good handhold, but she really needs to press with the foot. Andrzej Perhartz of Slovenia trying to do this boulder by going first with the toe hook to that hold. We haven't seen any of the men get out of that move that way. It's easier to actually just jump to it.
So this, Camila right back into this. And pay attention to the feet here. This is
so close.
And you could hear the shout of frustration as her feet just aren't agreeing. Futaba makes the stick. Alex Waterhouse you see on the left side. 15 seconds to top boulders.
And Alex is likely going to need to be able to top this boulder if he wants a chance at being in the final. Oh, so
That is
close. Wonderful climbing from Alex Waterhouse in his first semifinal at a Bouldering World Cup. That is a way to have your first semifinal go.
A wave to the crowd there, a bit of a shrug and a wave, I think, at the same time. I tried
He
for
gave
you.
it his all.
I gave it everything I had.
That's what you want, right? You want to be able to fight and give it your all, and hopefully it works out that you top all the boulders.
Exactly. So now we have no one on boulder number 1, so we're moving along the wall. So we are now focused down on 3 boulders, and this is just how it goes. So the end of the round goes the way the start of the round did, and it slowly gets more and more calm until you get the last couple of climbers climbing on their own in front of the crowd.
It's so rare to see Janja fall. In fact, in 2019, she fell twice in the whole season. So, and this is now her 3rd fall of the competition. So,
it's remarkable.
It is remarkable because she is just that good. Natalia Grossman quickly into this chimney section of women's number 3. Let's see if she can figure out that beta early on. As we've seen so many of the women dance back and forth between these 2 holds, trying to figure out how exactly they get in the right position to get to that finish hold.
The leaderboard has been swinging around on the women's side for sure. Oriana Berton, I think, will be surprised to learn she's still at the top. Janja, making no mistake, the 2nd time. Took 1 swing to figure out how far that toe hook was, and then just very carefully using the sidewall here. Not intended, but confident nonetheless.
A very Janja thing to do, right? Not the intended beta, and we've seen most of the women, if they get in that position, they come back down, but she was confident again, enough in her movements and her ability to just deal with it and finish the boulder in a different way.
Yeah, you look at the finish hold and say, I think I can stick that.
Exactly, that is her thought process, right? She's like, I can hold on to this. I'm gonna go this way.
Natalia,
really fighting for this flash on this boulder, right? When you're in a position like that, you don't want to give it away. You're so close.
She is that chalk. You almost want to get the chalk bag out of the way.
Yeah, right. Do you see her legs are shaking so much because it is so much pressure on the legs in between those 2 holds. It's just so close to being the right beta, and then if you just drop that left leg, sink the hip in, and then you'd be just sitting comfortably.
You'd be in business. So this is top 1, no zone on 2. Looking at
going back to that back step.
She is inches away from getting it spot on correct.
Fighting.
A little higher into where the shape of the hold is more familiar.
She's really going to try to make it happen anyway. She might need to be a little bit higher.
Just a shade. That right toe even could move up higher. Is she going to get into it?
She's very close. Oh, not enough to get her right hand up.
And as you start to move your right hand, it changes the orientation of your hips and you start to fall away. So you need to be locked in. And we saw almost, and now can she just make the adjustment to get really locked in? 2 minutes is enough time. Stay calm and see what happens. Akio on the left here, still unable to solve a very tricky women's number 4. And she will want to finish with a top here regardless. You always want to get tops. It's
really powerfully crossing through there. She made that section a lot more difficult than it needed to be, but she's so strong. She has such strong fingers. Kind of rocking into her foot position is a little off. That, I mean, just that foot switch that she just did was very difficult, and she was so close to almost sticking it. Let's see a quick replay of Tomoa Narasaki's top of men's number 2.
He moves quickly and
efficiently.
Very efficiently and very confidently, and just it looks
easy for him.
Sticks to the hold
so
Velcro.
Well. Looks like he has Velcro.
And he is here to make a statement, and he is absolutely doing that. He is one of the most successful young climbers. 24 overall podiums in all disciplines.
So impressive. Nice stick by Natalia Grossman.
You see on the right there, the men's leaderboard down to 6th place. I think that Alex is going to be at risk once we see Tomoa finish his round, and that might be...
Slip steps out of it. You know, it's really difficult in a position like that. She was so close to topping it that way that it's hard to think that, oh, I did something wrong still, but in reality, she was in a much more difficult body position. So that tunnel vision is really hard to get out of when you were so close.
5 seconds. I love that Akio pulled onto this boulder, knowing that she probably didn't have time to top it, but you want to go out trying
Don't
to the end of the buzzer.
Exactly.
So now we have Kokoro Fuji will be on boulder number 2, climbing all by himself on the right side of the wall.
Really taking the second to brush the holds. All of the athletes, when you come out this late in the round, it's so important. Luckily, though, the breeze here is still really nice. I was actually worried it was going to be kind of hot at this time of the day today, but I'm going to ask the athletes how they thought the temps were, because I would be surprised if I heard that it was kind of too hot, because this breeze is really nice.
Yeah, it's making a bit of a difference. And you do hear people say in Salt Lake City, it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
It doesn't get super humid. It doesn't get...
heat is heat.
Yeah, but heat is heat. Once you're sweating, it makes all those holds feel much worse. And Futaba here moving cautiously.
Kind of rock over on that foot as Anže Peharts quickly.
Top of boulder number 3. So that's an important top from him.
And he was in the final last weekend, so he's definitely looking for a spot there again, trying to conserve his energy. See if Futaba can figure out, ooh, nice footwork here. If she just presses on the right side and holds that opposition. Nicely done by Futaba Ito.
Really good climbing.
Great
That's
way
as
to
good
end
as
that
we've seen
round.
that boulder done up to that point.
Brooke Rabisu flashed it earlier, so now that's 2 flashes, right? Really nicely done. And that's going to be really big for her. It should move her up into that top 6 now. Oh, I take it back. It's not going to be enough to move her up, but she's in 8th currently. And again, the athletes are on the circuit, so high finishes are always what you want in terms of the whole entire year. So if you can't make it into the final, you know, you want to be close to it, because this just adds to your ranking overall.
You see on the right, so the boxes don't show you the attempts to get to those tops, the full boxes and the zones, the half boxes, and that's the difference. Everyone that has 2 tops in that range in 4-5, that's going to be a difference of number of attempts to get to those tops or those zones. So the easy representation, that first quick look, as we see Sean Bailey, who just crushed this semifinal round with 4 tops. And Alex Waterhouse currently sitting on the bubble of 6th place, nervously watching Anže Tomoa and Kokoro Fuji on their last couple of boulders. He's going to hang on to that 6th spot. And No Cornu, I think, maybe also on the bubble. Getting up into this position, just unable to. He looks
Doesn't feel comfortable.
As designed, really. That's
that was the
designed to make you-
intention. Yeah, kind of overthinking that last section, actually.
He was turned inside out, still trying to do the right motion to be pressing up into the underside of that volume, but had his hand corked all the way around, making it really difficult to apply the right amount of pressure.
Sota Amagasa taking a second to brush. The holds on this boulder specifically, brushing is so necessary. All of the hand holds are very small, the feet are slippery, and you're nearing the end of the 20 climbers, so any little bit of friction is helpful. As Miho quickly gets up into the mantle. I like what she does here, just setting up nicely to jump across. Just a little too much swing. On her earlier attempt, she used the crack a little to stabilize and then let go before the jump, which I think is smart because it gives you the ability to jump over a little better.
So to back up with a minute to go, and just keep an eye on the footwork here. It's more about the feet for this last move. The left foot is terrible, and the right foot starts to push you out on where it wants to be. Sota trying to go low.
And with the right hand, which would be really hard to hold.
He's going to take one more swing at it. And now we see
Kokoro back into where he was before.
Just watch the right hand placement. Miho on your right.
Trying to find that body position. Oh, I thought she was going to throw the hip, but
Hip against heel.
Maybe she'll find, I wonder if she'll find that it could be better to just drop that left leg. For Miho, though, she's already in
She's in
fourth,
there.
so not to worry, not that she knows that right now, but she'll be all right, likely moving forward. So just great climbing throughout the round for her. So funny that boulder is
amazing.
just stumping
It's
everybody.
amazing. So here I mean, it looks like Janja is in 5th place, but it's only because she's 2 boulders behind.
Yeah.
So just wait for
It's
her
a
to
great
climb.
place to be when you've just started your round. Is
Exactly.
already in 5th, and that's where she expects to be, right? Is already up in the top 6, just having climbed 2 boulders.
She's,
I
a generational talent.
maybe she will find this little hip placement
Maybe.
right off the bat. That would be
Maybe.
awesome to see. Nicely up into the mantle. She's so good at these kind of coordination moves.
Yeah.
Trusts her feet and can hold swings really well. Ooh. She jumped off of her left foot instead of
Got
her right
twisted
foot.
around a little
Yep.
bit. It was a good look at the top angle there. Shows you what kind of angle you're dealing with on the wall.
Natalia quickly up at the top. Inside flagging early. Now that could be interesting. We haven't even seen anyone try an inside flag on any part of the boulder, but if she saves it for the top, it might be better.
Good catch. And now
Looks
it's
like
about
she's
the
just
footwork.
going to match feet. It's Tomoa just running through this boulder.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean,
Just
looking to the crowd.
give him a
before
hard
matching.
one.
Yeah, give me a hard boulder.
Janja again going off the left foot. Ooh. This is surprising. Usually she adjusts quickly, especially with that kind of a move. But we'll see if she jumps off her right foot this next time. It just puts you in a better position to catch that swing. Because right now, like you said, she keeps getting twisted up as when she lands
And this
on
is
that
the subtlety.
foothold.
Yeah, this is the subtlety of this level of climbing. It might seem it wouldn't make a difference to jump off your left foot or your right foot, but it changes your hip position.
Everything.
It changes the way you're rotating and how much force you're putting into that outside swing that you need to handle. So it does make a difference.
See if she makes the adjust. Still going off the left, but I mean, if anyone's gonna make it happen,
Yeah,
it's
she's
Janja,
gonna
and
Wrestle
she,
it into submission.
yeah, she's like, no, it's gonna work this way.
Does it look like she's trying to go? She's about to wind up for a muscle up?
No,
Just for a
I think
second.
she was just getting comfortable. Let's see if she figures out to throw the hip in though, right off the bat.
Just staring
It's
at the
taking a
distance.
moment, though.
Yep.
Which is smart.
Yeah,
It's tricky.
It's calculating. It's just looking up to see how far she needs to travel. Can I lock myself in here? Take a little. Oh, she reached for the chalk bag that's not there.
Oh,
Oh,
whoops. Forgot the chalk bag. Oh, remember when her chalk bag fell off
Mm-hmm.
in Bilar? And then she just did the route anyway.
she's like, unconcerned. I'll deal with that. Now, this is the highest. I would argue we've seen the
here.
right foot
Yep,
placement.
she tried with the knee, so maybe she'll find the hip. She's got the right idea, at least, to not fully commit to kind of getting wedged with both of her legs in between that chimney. Just needs to flip that left hand down and bring the right foot up and just place the hip in. It sounds so simple, but it's just hard to figure out.
That's
Gonna mantle?
I'm going to mantle my own knee.
Natalia Grossman
Natalia
trying to
Grossman.
figure out how to do this match. Just needs to really press into it. Nicely done.
Really composed top from Natalia Grossman.
We'll see if that puts her up into the top 6.
Showing the poise that she had last weekend. Wonderful to see.
Janja's still trying to figure out how to get. She's like kind of laughing. What is going on?
What is happening here? It's a route at this point. She's been
well,
on the wall for 2 minutes.
And good thing she has so much endurance. And in reality, she doesn't necessarily need to have chalk in order to get to the top. It does look like she's about to wind up and try to go
Just try and
dynamically.
Stick it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, she's like, but I don't think it's the best idea.
But I'm going to try anyway because I've been standing here forever.
Oh my
She might
gosh.
walk away.
There is a chance she might. I mean, I feel like she doesn't generally walk
Oh, I
away
know.
from boulders, but
Eli Uznik here. This is going to... That left foot, even without generating force, that left foot is so insecure. It's the 3rd time he's slipped on it while just trying to stand. It's so frustrating. The men's field is tight. 3 tops.
classic Janja.
Yep.
jump, and she's so good at holding that body position. Just like, oh, that's what she was trying to do, is jump into
the
it.
position.
Great effort by Janja Garnbrett, putting on a really amazing semifinal show. She is totally safe, currently in second place.
But in unfamiliar territory to not top a boulder.
All 4 boulders is very rare for her in the semifinal.
Her semifinal completion percentage is otherworldly, something like 98.
It's so
99%.
impressive. It's so impressive.
And you will hear us talk a lot about
Absolute
Janja because
legend.
we are dealing with that, such an imposing force
Oh, yes.
on the women's circuit. She just comes into every competition, and now we just expect her to complete everything. She's still subject to the same scenarios that the rest of us are in competition. She's still capable of making mistakes. She just makes so few of them.
She
and
really
moves
does
so
not
well
make a lot of mistakes. And if you're new to climbing, what's really impressive about that is that, the boulders are always changing, the routes are always changing. You're not getting to watch people. You have to figure it out in a certain amount of time. So it's unlike most other sports where it's so much more rehearsed, right? Like a swimming or a gymnastics, like those sports are so rehearsed. So it's so impressive to be able to be so consistent when the variables are always changing and there are so many of them.
Exactly. Kokoro Fuji here on his flash attempt. Just deciding
That
how
slower
static
method,
to go. Yeah,
similar
sort of
to
slowed it all
Sean Bailey
down.
earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Same approach.
Oh, nice.
Thumb first. So we've seen 3 or 4 different methods of success, but that arguably the harder way is to get established in that angle.
So much more stress on your lower body, and
Exactly.
and that gives it that possibility of putting too much stress on your knees or your hamstrings.
Yeah, just sort of ejecting out from the slide. Janja Behartz.
Oh, so close.
It looked like he just lost a little bit of that balance falling away. He had a really good stick. He was on there securely.
Yeah, it's very good first attempt. If he can get back up there smoothly, I feel like he'll find that position a bit better.
Miho Nanaka here.
Confidently, now twisting into this cross. You have to try so hard to hold that tiny little crimp. It's like pinches your finger too. It hurts so bad. So you really have to commit to wanting to grab it.
And she is
Nice little
now on top of the field.
Choosing-
And is she going to get the... Oh, I thought the toe hook that we saw earlier. So the wind just picked up. We both just got dust in our eyes at the same time.
Just a little.
Yeah.
As the chief route setter, Jamie, looks back at us as well, having suffered the same fate as us.
We're all staring, eyes
dust.
wide open here. We're all watching with holding our breath to see if Miho was going to have that toe hook stick. And then some funny timing. So she's already on top of the leaderboard. As we say, doesn't need the boulder, but you don't know that. So they don't know in the semifinal what your competitors have done. You do approach every boulder as a must-top scenario. Quick look on the right-hand side of your leaderboard on the women. Janja, again.
So close.
I'm just trying to decide what he needs to do differently. A little bit higher, maybe, just to sort of slow down at the top of the movement. He's reaching for it instead of being in control right when he's grabbing it. It's a subtle adjustment to be made.
It's difficult because you get pulled out from the wall so aggressively. You can't let your body get too long as you're coming away from the wall.
Yeah, excellent description.
You need to keep it very tight, basically. Like if it comes out a little bit, you need to really reel it in quickly. We saw Sean Bailey do that earlier with so much aggression that his foot really slammed against the wall.
It becomes a core movement almost more than a
lower
foot or hand.
core.
Yeah, lower core, upper leg. That's where the subtleties lies.
I like that Miho is just trying to kind of like pinch that crimp, just because that cross move is very uncomfortable and it's a lot of stress on the fingers, so not a bad idea.
That's a good look at the amount of force on those toes we saw as she came through there. And this is the first person we've seen get a foot on the zone.
We've seen some try, but she definitely had a better placement there. It looked like it was actually going to work. She hasn't really tried to stand up into. Really smart move off camera. Actually, Miho is going to walk away with 28 seconds. Got to save it for the final as Anjay quickly moves through men's number 4. He looks so smooth through this section. It's very impressive. Just needs to really stay a little tighter on this move. Oh, foot slip though.
And you know that the clock was in the back of his mind. He didn't take as much time to set the move up as he did on his earlier attempts. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed. I'm not sure that would have made a difference. 3 tops would have made it closer to the line for him. So when you look back, you sort of put the pieces together of your round and say, if I had done this and if I had done that, and it's hard not to look at every boulder and say, well, if I had done this one, well, if I had topped them all, I'd be sitting up at the top with Sean Bailey right now.
So true.
Tomoe Narasaki just brushing boulder number 4. See if he can make it a clean 4.
Janja Garnbret steps up for women's number 4.
Doesn't take a lot of time to look at the boulder, and that's also, she moves quickly sort of from the match
quickly
to the start of the boulder. You see just a few decisions, left, right, right, left. That's pretty common.
Yeah, right.
What am I going to do?
Just nicely. It's funny because this almost climbs like a ladder, especially if you do it properly. And we saw a lot of the women trying to go out of sequence, which honestly just made it harder. It's just kind of a nasty climb. It's going to hurt your hands, and you're going to really have to stand on your feet
and deal with it.
See if she can figure out
Will you get your inside flag?
Oh, yes, the inside flag. Nicely done, Janja Garnbret with a top, finishing that round.
Yeah, putting herself in position at the top of the leaderboard with, as Megan noted, if you think back, an hour and a half ago, the inside flag.
I was
on
hoping
boulder
somebody
4.
would do it. It's my favorite thing to see.
Tomoe Narasaki now just making decisions about footwork here, sizing up the last move, and then the same thing that was happening just at the end there with Nikolai is standing up tall, and the same with Anjay, and getting too far away from the wall. So that's an adjustment you believe that Tomoe will be able to make. He definitely has the experience to figure out what needs to change from one attempt to the next attempt. If anyone's going to make those adjustments, it's going to be the competitors that have spent that much time climbing on boulders of this level of difficulty.
Exactly.
It's, I mean, he absolutely crushed the last couple of years. He went 5 podiums in 5 events in 2019, which is
impressive.
Very impressive. It's just when he shows up to climb, he shows up to climb, and we've come to, as we do with Janja, and a slightly lesser degree with Tomoe. But we expect to see him in the final, and we expect to see him on the podium because he is such a force.
Definitely such a force. You had a quick look a second ago at some of the Japanese team members checking out the scores on the app, and you could do that too. If you don't want to look at these filled-in squares on the right, go ahead and go to the IFSC app, and it'll explain more the tops, the zones, the attempts to top, attempts to zone, and maybe it'll make a little more sense to you. You can see it a little more in depth. See if Tomoe can get the placement right with his foot here. It's just such a small hold, and his shoes look pretty soft, but oh man,
goodness.
So easy.
Once you saw the movement, very, very confidently, no sag in that body position at all. Tall and strong.
So nicely done.
And that is a great round from Tomoe Narasaki. So just ahead of Sean Bailey, based on attempts to those tops and attempts to those zones. And that's how you stand on top of the leaderboard. So all that remains now is to see whether or not Kokoro Fuji can get a 3rd top in.
Here's a nice replay of Tomoe's full send of men's number 4. Gosh, so much power there.
Just extra.
It's just confidence too. Like he's like, I don't need my feet here. I'm just gonna keep climbing. Yeah. And it's cool to see that kind of confidence. He really places the foot well here and just stands up with the right amount of power and even celebrates before matching, which is honestly a little risky. I actually remember Manu doing that in Paris in 2016 and slipping at the top of the boulder before actually matching. So risky move there at the end from Tomoe Narasaki, but a top and a great finish to the round. 4 boulders done, on to the final for him, and just waiting for Kokoro
Yep.
Fuji to come out. And again, normally we wouldn't have an offset number, but earlier Sean McCall had to come back out and climb again on men's number 1 due to an appeal. So that's why we're a little off right now with our timing.
We are setting up here for a different pile of climbers in the final.
Some of the same.
Some of the same, but we've inserted a few new names into the final on the women's side. So you see here, we're just a shade too slow on. Yanya is going to be your top qualifier. Miho Nanaka, Orion Berton, Brooke Rabitou, Stasha Geho, and Natalia Grossman are going to round out the field on the women's side as the clock ticks over for Kokoro Fuji. And this matters.
It really does matter for him here. And looking at this boulder, I would think that it's something that he would be able to figure out pretty quickly. He's really confident on his feet and makes good decisions in terms of body positions generally. So just see if he sees the beta or the method to do this boulder right away, or if he has to take a second to figure it out.
Yep, and this is one of the things you want to have in competition. You don't, not necessarily if you're Kokoro on this boulder, but as a fan watching at home, you want to see somebody on the bubble need to top a boulder to earn their spot in finals, and this is exactly what's going to happen. So we've kept you engaged until the end. It keeps it exciting.
And he's quickly through that bottom section, as I would have guessed, because he is so good at finding the right position in order to make things more comfortable. Just a little slip, but
Maybe
already
rushed it
a little bit.
Yeah.
But going with the proper hand, at least we've seen a lot of the men try to go with the right hand on their first attempt, which is not the best way to go about it. We've not seen someone top it that way, but doesn't mean it would have been impossible.
Can't be done. Yeah, absolutely.
But plenty of time here for Kokoro.
And plenty of attempts. So the next closest man, most sitting in 6th place right now, took 9 attempts to get his 3 tops. And the difference here, what you don't see on the side of your screen between Kokoro in 7th and Manuel in 6th, is that the number of attempts. So Kokoro has 7 swings at this boulder to earn himself 6th place. And that's why we talk about conservation of effort matters, but least number of attempts to get to those tops can earn you a spot into the final.
And that's something these athletes practice a lot. They know that attempts are so important, so you're trying to be super efficient. You don't, especially the seasoned competitors, you don't see them giving away tries very often.
You see, he stepped up, but was moving too far away from the wall immediately. The left hand didn't even come off.
That was interesting, right? He didn't even try to really go for it. It almost looked like he wanted to try to stand up first and then throw the hand, but probably won't see him try that method again.
No. He's going to take a calculated rest. They're aware of the clock, of course. You know that it's ticking down, but you want to give yourself enough time on the mat to get a little bit of blood back in your forearms and your fingertips. Slow your heart rate down. So there's definitely strategy to how much time you rest as well. The Fuji again moving so confidently in the first
little slip there,
boulder.
But he saved it, all good. See if he can go back to more of that method he had on his first attempt, but he wants to try a heel hook now. Back to the toe. He just kind of pops up with that left hand, just trust that foot.
A little bit of pull with that right hand.
It just feels so uncomfortable. It's interesting to see him kind of drop off the boulder versus like actually falling. He didn't actually really try that move, so
no,
it's a rare thing to see.
And it's not that he knows he has lots of attempts to give.
No,
he has no idea of the score. So it's not that he's thinking, oh, I got some time, I have no problem. He's just conserving energy and maybe thinking that there's value in stepping off the boulder instead of fighting for position. He tried that heel hook, as you noted, just felt it out. Is this what I want? Immediately rejected it. Now with a minute to go, all eyes on Kokoro Fuji, whether or not he can punch his ticket into the final.
And this year he's placed 4th 2 times in a row in Maringen and then here in Salt Lake City last weekend. So he definitely wants to be in the final, have another shot at the podium. And he's got 35 seconds to do it.
My palms are sweating.
I know. How many arms are crossed? And then,
What?
wow, without the feet.
What?
Kokoro Fuji making it happen.
That is
Oh my goodness.
excitement. That is not as designed. I did not think he was going to pull that out with that foot
Especially
low.
after dropping off the time before, I almost wonder, because he immediately, when he came down, he put some liquid chalk on. I wonder if he felt a little too sweaty in his hands and was like, you know what, I know what I need to do. I just need some more chalk first, and then I'm going to make it happen.
What a way to finish the semifinal round here in Salt Lake City. Last climber out, last boulder. Kokoro Fuji makes his way into the final. We are going to come back at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, bring you the finals. If last weekend was anything to go on, then you are in for an absolute treat. So I hope that you come back and join us.
Please do.
We are going to have brand new boulders. If you're watching for the first time and haven't seen a final, if this is your first semifinal viewing, then the final format is a little bit different. They have an observation period. They get to see the boulders ahead of time. The scoring is all the same, but they have a different approach to the boulders. So final boulders get very, very exciting because they get to be a little bit more difficult. And I believe we're singing happy birthday.
It's Akio Noguchi's 32nd birthday. And so we're all going to take a second and wish her a very happy birthday. What a way to spend your birthday.
Great way to spend your birthday. The shortened version of the birthday song, but that's great to come up on the crowd, on the mat in front of the crowd here in Salt Lake City. And there's a big crowd here for the semifinal. Happy birthday to Akio Noguchi. Maybe not the round that she would have wanted on her birthday, but
Nope.
she has been around this sport for such a long time. We are going to have a look at your finalists this afternoon on the women's side. You're going to have Yanya Garnbrett, you're going to have Miho Nanaka, Oriane Baton, Brooke Rabitu, Stashigeho, and Natalia Grossman is going to round out the field for the women.
And 4 of those women were in the final last weekend.
And there's the second half of the field. It's a tough round, as you see, as we get down into 14th and 15th. No tops, so just getting zones across the bottom half of the field. So some tough boulders on the women's side today to earn your way in for sure. On the men's side, you're going to have Tomoa Narasaki, 4 tops to get in. Sean Bailey with an absolutely fantastic performance, also 4 tops. Zach Gala, excellent climbing from him.
First final for him.
Yoshiyuki Ogata, Kokoro Fuji, and then Maximilian Milne rounding out the top 6. Great climbing from a couple of young athletes here on the men's side. Manuel Cornu just getting bumped out at the last try from Kokoro Fuji. But yes, a fantastic climbing from him. Also from Alex Waterhouse. And then down the second half of the men's field, good climbing all round. Simon Lorenzi, Alex Megos sitting in 14th. Maybe would have liked to have been a little bit higher. Finishing out that round, almost all the climbers getting 4 zones on the men's side.
A higher scoring round for the men for sure, but definitely great semis in general, exciting boulders, lots of try hard, and it's just going to get even better in the final.
Yep, thanks for hanging out with us in the semifinal here in Salt Lake City, the second weekend of our back-to-back World Cups. I'm Pete Woods, Megan Martin. We will see you at 5 o'clock for the final. Sit down on your couch, get comfy, and we will meet you here at 5 o'clock.